toss-up, but anytime we get the privilege casting some of these lower division teams, we always see spicy games. Doesn't matter what the league is, what the skill ranking is. I always like casting the lower divisions, and already some interesting bans. And I gotta say, I don't think it's ban worthy, but I love that we're not gonna see Hachiman in this game. We see him way too often.
Yeah, the ban-worthy is certainly a point for discussion, but in terms of seeing him commonly, it's been a theme of the entire season of OSL up to this point. Hachiman's been one of the most prioritized ADCs. We're also seeing a big emphasis on Thanatos, it feels like, especially this past weekend, with a lot of teams making that in their top 3 goals to grab, but notably not banned so far.
And I mean, even if you don't agree that Hachiman's a top ban, these other few definitely aren't. Of a Mana ban, not too familiar after the nerfs that went on in his ultimate, and his Sobek ban. Sobek, a really popular support, I think an arguably very underrated support, but still with things like Karen, who was taken out, and some others in the game a little interested that we see the Crocodile this high up. And talk about high up, Kukulkan, first lock-in. Already, this picks and ban phase is throwing me for a loop.
Kukulkan has been one of the mages that's been highly sought after, a big part of it, Fish, and this is something I think you and I talked about the last time we were together.
Warriors, to battle!
Is characters that get free power are just so good right now, and Kukulkan fits that bill perfectly. Djungelskogs responding with an on her, however, and that's pretty big for lane pressure.
It is. I really like that on her pick. One of, I think, probably the most aggressive ADCs. Has a really nice leap, a really nice stun, and of course CC immunity in that ult is always going to be good. That being said, pretty important both who he faces up against and his lane partner. I'd really expect the Djungelskogs there to pick a really aggressive support so they're able to capitalize on this. Something like an Ares we've been seeing a little bit of lately. Would love to see an appearance here, but instead it's going to be a Nike. Definitely not a solo line I expected, but one that does pretty good in pretty much all metas, so I definitely don't hate it.
Every time we've been seeing Nike recently, I've loved it. I feel like it's performing so well, so I love the lock-in here for Djungelskogs of that Nike. But one thing I did mention before, not to kind of toot my own horn, I was looking for a Thanatos. I'd love it into the Nike, but instead it looks like Warriors of Albion have an interest
I will
in
leave standing no
and a
back.
So responding to the on her and locking down their dual lane, and that dual lane does bring a lot of different utility factors to their side of the ADC war.
It does, and they should have a pretty good amount of defensive too. Obviously, the Ganesh root, Ganesh silence, would be pretty effective against that on her if they try to jump in. And of course, Chernbog escaping into the wall means that this is probably going to be a pretty low kill lane if we had to guess. Obviously, still haven't seen the jungle picks, so a little bit tough to say. Really interested to see if that's going to kind of shift the Djungelskogs mentality there. They're going to go with the Dodgy though. Dodgy, a great jungler, so good with that Palo, but you need somebody that can burn the beads, or Dodgy just isn't going to find a ton of value.
I feel like I haven't seen a Dodgy in a while. I do like it here. I feel like every time I see a Dodgy, we're seeing it as sort of that hyper dive, early ganks type of jungler. And it does bring that for Djungelskogs. It does synergize pretty well with the dive coming out from Djungelskogs, but it needs a lot of setup. And hey, one thing it does bring, Fisher, when you are looking for setup, is that Geb brings a lot of it.
Get to the Chaka!
Really does. Geb with Cataclysm, a really great ability. It can provide pretty easy because with that rollout, so easy to reposition into the middle of the teams. We see Geb go blink a lot, which really helps that setup. And of course, the knockup has an absolutely massive radius, so a lot of tools there to help with the team. I think the only big thing I'm seeing though is besides the Palo and the Cataclysm, which normally only finds about 2 people, there's not a ton of really big CC there. And you wanted to see it, you're gonna get to see it. The Thanatos hover and lock in there for the Warriors of Albion. And onto that Nike, of course, only get shield in the ultimate, no health. That's gonna be a massive pick, gonna make that solo laner very careful.
Well, it's funny, I was a little bit off in timing, but I'm glad we did see it. I love Thanatos into shield because it negates a lot of the big problems caused by it, and Geb, it's always a fantastic selection. Djungelskogs being able to pick up a Thoth last year, Fisher, that's fascinating. I feel like every time we've seen one in the recent games of OSL, we're seeing it go in the top 3, if not top 6 picks. Just because inherently it fits in to that mold of wanting to get down that objective secure, that movement, that survivability. Seeing it go last is just feels out of pocket.
does, and both Thoth and Kukulkan are really strong mid laners right now, but I completely would have expected to see the positions flip there. I think Thoth's just probably worlds above Kukulkan right now, much more survivability, that ultimate a little bit easier to hit when you can kind of reposition while you're firing it. And I think if you are able to combo that with the dodgy Palo, I know I've probably mentioned that ability like 10 times already in this prep phase. That's going to be a massive amount of damage that you really can't escape. So the characters like Ganesh there, no CC immunity, even if you're able to get one onto Kukulkan when their beads aren't up, it's going to be an almost instant death from that combo. So I really, really like that one from the Djungelskogs.
I really like Djungelskogs' fight in general. I feel like the way that they're able to dive in and control the pace of a fight, both at the beginning and the end of a fight, potentially, with a lot of cleanup abilities. Not even to mention the objectives that they have, which is matched a bit by Spirit 9 wins, to say the least, right a bit. So Warriors of Albion have some work, but overall I feel like you have the Onher and the Nike and the Geb who are looking to start the fight off, dive in deep, cause displacement. You got the powwow, and of course all the artillery damage coming out from Thoth. That's going to make it difficult for Warriors of Albion to relax in those team fights. And while they do have a lot of direct responses, I wouldn't say they have counters. I mean, maybe looking at the Chalk, being able to use a Storm Call to disrupt that initial dive could be good. And of course we talked about the execute for the shields.
When we're talking about, you know, kind of teams diving versus team separation, a lot of the time we'll kind of see those team fights break into two, where the really aggressive members from both teams will dive each other's backline at the same time. And the kind of separation that Warriors of Albion have over the Djungelskogs, I think is huge. Shock and Thanatos are going to be able to do their thing by themselves. They're not going to need extra damage coming in from a Spirit of the 9 Winds, or not going to need silence from Ganesh. I mean, obviously that stuff helps. That duo is going to free that Ganesh up to really help the backline, and Chernobog and Kukulkan, not the two most mobile gods in the world, so they really are going to need that help from Ganesh. I think the Djungelskogs are going to rely pretty heavily on what Geb is able to do on initiation to really free up some space for Nike and Dodgy that can't really get it done without a little bit of help.
So to summarize that and make it easy what to look for, we're looking for the Chalk and Thanatos to be the Kobe and Shaq, and we're keeping our eyes out for the Dodgy and the Nike being locked at the hip, but is the Geb making way for them to do their thing?
Definitely going to be an X factor of this game, just what that Djungelskogs roster is able to do, because when you look at it, top to bottom, it's an incredible roster, just a little bit of unsure how that synergy is going to work out as we kind of transition to that mid and late game where teams start grouping up.
I love the matchup we've got so far. We are close to getting into game number 1 between these two Delphi division teams. And thank you for joining us on this Monday for OSL. Fisher, I'm very excited again. I feel like we haven't gotten to have a Delphi level area game together in a while. I mean, I know we had Crete recently, but that's just a bit different, you know? Delphi feels like the ideal spot for chaos, for fighting, and for a bloodbath. So getting into game, let's see how much of a bloodbath it can be. Welcome on into game. Warriors of Albion versus Djungelskogs, week number 3. Fisher, we are going to be in for a wild time, to say the least. As we do actually wait for items to come up online and for the map to catch up too. We'll get to see sort of what starts we have. And hey, right on cue, look at that. I'm a mathematician. My name's Anthony Mount, joined by Kingfisher. And Fisher, looking at the relics, I noticed no blinks. I noticed a beads for Ganesh and a sprint for the Geb. We're cooking.
They certainly are. There's a few odd choices. I definitely don't hate the beads by Ganesh. I mean, that CC immunity could be one thing that really spills the end of the fight. For as much as we talk about how this CC is going to combo, for the Djungelskogs, having your support able to get out of that, definitely don't want to throw that out for break or anything, especially when, like we've been talking about, Ganesh should be able to play a much more passive game than some Ganeshes are normally able to. A little bit of a rough spot here for the jungler of Warriors of Albion. Inter taking a lot of damage there. Already has to use a health pop. Absolutely hate to see it.
I feel like having that much damage might be worth watching, so we'll keep our eyes on it. In this dual lane as well, I'm with you 100%. Ganesh with the beads, smart call, but the sprint has to be interested. I feel like we're seeing everybody go that horrific. It just feels like a must grab, but there is some situations where that sprint could be good, especially with the Kukulkan and the Chalk and the slows. We'll see. So worth watching there as well. We always like to talk about the lane to watch for, right, Fisher? We've already gone through Relics, so in terms of that lane to watch for, where are your eyes looking today?
For me, it's going to have to be the mid lane. I know we talked early about seeing the on her Geb combo. It's a combo that should absolutely run the laning phase. But that being said, without those ultimates online, and honestly, once the other lane gets their ultimates, there's going to be pretty small kill pressure there without the junglers. The solo lane is a really traditional matchup, but both Thoth and Kukulkan nowhere near the tankiest gods in the mid lane, so they're really going to have their work cut out for them. And I actually like the sprint a lot. Those entangling wings are going to do a ton against Warriors of Albion. Thanatos and Kukulkan both can be locked down completely by those without those dashes or leaps. So come late game, that can really spell the difference. They're going to have to use a lot of utility to live against that.
That's a really good call. Speaking of calls, one out for a gank in solo. Adaji can look for Ice Steel buffs, trying to grab that first blood. The knockup from Nike is good. Do you have the damage, though? No. Ice Steel buffs able to get away. Very low health, and WK Willie couldn't follow up due to their own health. So no first blood, despite the early gank and the mountain of damage that came along with it.
Bet WK Willie wishes he had the blue stone right now instead of the Warrior's axe. Probably would have done the last amount of damage. And Shock there used his axe so early on. That's why you got to get those wards up. Almost died because he wasn't able to teleport back into that tower range. And with all the wards in the game now, I think it's still kind of shocking that even 2 minutes into this, we already don't see like 10 wards on the map.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. You know, ward vision, that's something you and I have been talking about a lot, just in Season 11 in general. It feels like teams are not using the new variations of vision as well. You've got the Raven ward, you've got yourself the proximity ward, which I'm a huge fan of being cheeky with, to say the least. I feel like it's undervalued. Look, in right lane, a look from Cyber at the enemy blue buff, but that Chaos blue, gonna be tough to invade without Chalk there. So Cyber is just going to walk away and secure their own instead.
Smart move there from Cyber. I mean, you're already a level down, probably half a level down on the dodgy. Really no sense risking anything there. And something to look at, Thanatos, we always talk about that jungler that once they hit level 5, they rain terror on the map. Dodgy, I think, one of the few that's kind of well equipped to put up with them. I mean, Thanatos, you just make people play careful, but Dodgy, anytime she ults, she draws beads, or the person is essentially dead. So really looking towards Crimson to kind of spread around the map here. Maybe not match rotations of Cyber, but anything they can do aggression-wise to kind of keep the Warriors of Albion on their toes is going to be absolutely huge here. And WK Willie needs to hit the S key, needs to back up.
Ooh. Will he be able to in time so far? And the minions actually get a bit off target there for Ice Steel buffs, turning back around to clean up the remainder of Willie's minions. But the axe, is it in range? No. This might look juicy for Steel buffs. Has that storm call online, but no. Isn't gonna go in, gonna take the safe route and just go to that totem. Really surprised we didn't see the Chalk go in there.
Yeah, I think a teleport would have been big, especially with the ult online, but with WK Willie holding that shield in the back pocket,
True.
You gotta think any axe flying in would have been immediate for there from the Nike. Probably a smart move on the Chalk, might have gotten it with some really creative abilities, but better safe than sorry. In 4 minutes without a first blood, I don't think I've seen this in Smite history in all the games I've casted. So maybe don't want to give that bounty over either, but Crimson looking for Cyber.
Cyber will hit the Scythe, but not going to dive in completely. Does have ultimate online, and as you see, Cjax is getting pretty low on that Geb. Same can be said for Polymorphs. Now the Pillar will force that Chernabog back. No harm done to either side, at least for the moment. But the Thanatos is lurking by, but just recalling, so things will finally calm. You know, you talked about wanting to see the ultimates from the junglers, and now that we are into that territory, I want to see the same thing. I almost feel like if you aren't using it on cooldown, you're making a bit of a mistake in this game.
Yeah, and that always kind of feels like a common complaint, some Smite gods, maybe some playstyles. There's no sense in holding on to an ultimate, like with a short kill cooldown, maybe if it's not part of your kit. I think you see it a lot with Giannis, where every good Giannis player just says, throw your ult out whenever you're able to, as soon as you get it. Love to see the same thing on Thanatos. Not so far, though. Both junglers, they don't necessarily look hesitant to gank, but outside of that first solo lane engagement, we haven't seen a real commitment. Here, both of them come, though, back over to solo.
Maybe they heard the criticism and they're here to make you a believer. Cyber will be in first. Not going to find that first sight after the jump from the Nike. But enough poke has found the way of WQ Willie to dissuade any further engagements from both sides, it would appear. Left side, there is a rotation coming out from the mid of Djungelskogs. We'll see if that turns into a fight of the purple buff, as Ganesh is kind of just in no man's land, but gets a dash off and will get away. Doesn't face any CC there, so we'll be alright. But a risky maneuver, still 6 minutes in with no kill. And to your point, there have been some games we've seen in OSL so far this season that had low kill numbers. I believe there was one in, I want to say Sparta, that had an 18 or 19 minute first blood. But for lower divisions, such as Crete or Delphi, it is so rare to see a game still have a 0-0 on the scoreboard like we have here.
It is, and even if you kind of look past the division and look to the gods in this matchup, there's so many aggressive ones. I mean, Dodgy, Onher, Chalk, Thanatos, Kukulkan, all gods at...
Ooh,
oh, maybe you don't have to... Oh!
On cue.
What do you look at that?
That's a first blood for Warriors of Albion, right on cue to what Fisher said. Thanatos doing Thanatos things, making the aggressive gank. And WQ Willie, despite using that ultimate, Thanatos had the answer, but the kill goes to Chalk, which is interesting, Fisher, because a lot of action in solo so far. Chalk having that extra 500 gold is massive.
It's gonna allow them to maybe keep an edge over that Nike. Have the exact same build right now. Mystical Mail kind of coming back into popularity a little bit. And solo lane builds still confuse me. This is like one of the few seasons where we've seen a ton of different solo lane builds. Really not a ton of continuity among the solo laners, all prioritizing different stuff. But so far in this game it's happening. And Cercio dropping low, Polymorphs finding some good damage. And one thing we haven't talked about, this is not the side I was expecting to win this lane.
Yeah, for sure. Dark Pillars, too, to help things out. It doesn't look right, almost. A Cataclysm does respond well. Dirty Bubble has found themselves as low as Sea-Jax. So this lane a bit more interesting than initially might meet the eye. Polymorphs might have the advantage with that Aussie online, at least for the next bit, though, having that passive and that extra damage over the low stacks of Dev's Gauntlets for Incercio, which will make this a really interesting chess match over in duo. But Cyber, interested in knocking the pieces off the board, will take to the sky and look for Sea-Jax. Will find the execute. Goodbye to the Geb, and Cercio will just jump away and play it safe. Now 2 kills total, Warriors of Albion.
Good gank there from Cyber, and that's kind of the Thanatos effect we're used to seeing. Walks over a ward though and runs into Crimson, gets a silence, but here comes Onher.
There's that Pal we're looking for. Beat still online. Polymorph shows up, but has to go into the wall instantly to help evade from that Daji. Reaper will send forward an ultimate that does hit Dirty Bubble. And it does work from the Djungelskogs to back the Warriors of Albion up. The fight will not continue any further. No buff invades off of that either. So a nice defense there of their own jungle from Djungelskogs. Coming up in 9 minutes, 2-0, favoring that Order side. But more interestingly, Fisher, the gold lead. While it's been a relatively calm game, it's between the first blood and the kill, it's pretty strongly in favor of Warriors of Albion.
It is, and at this stage of the game especially, it's kind of got to come down to farming. There's no way of first blood and one additional kill in about like 30 seconds before we talked about it nets you 2.5 gold lead. It's going to be a really constant doing a great job of farming, getting the neutral camps. And from Warriors of Albion, they're doing it textbook, and even with those kills, we really haven't seen a ton of invasions, which I think just tells me all the neutral camps going the way of the Order team this time. And if you're Djungelskogs, that's something you gotta look to change. Even right now, push back a little bit in their jungle, and WQ Willie on low, make it no mana. With Thanatos coming over, I don't think he's in the area though.
Not this time, but getting closer. Storm Call will come out. That might force an ultimate from WQ Willie, but like we said, doesn't matter. When Thanatos is there, doesn't even use the Sentinel of Zeus, just goes down to Cyber. 2 kills now for the Thanatos to make it 3-0 for Warriors of Albion. Left side of the map, some trouble brewing on Dirty Bubble, and that Powwow will be dead to Crimson. So, first kill for Djungelskogs, and they will take it, especially going to Daji. But Thanatos now with 2 kills could become a problem at any moment.
And that's not exactly a kill trade with that happening all the way across the map, but you got to think Warriors of Albion at least pretty happy they got the solo laner, and we're still seeing a real lack of wards on that right side from WK Willie. I'm not sure if they didn't use the ultimate there because they didn't know Thanatos was over. Honestly, I don't think they had enough mana for it.
Maybe they thought it wasn't worth it too.
True. I mean, if it was only Shock, I think Ultimate would have saved their life there. But you got to think they had to know the Phantom was coming, or they just didn't have enough. Regardless, though, they need to have some more vision over there. There isn't going to be a ton of big fighting, so it's really time for that Fire Giant to come out. But on the left side of the map, they do have one Sentry Ward up, so you know, better than nothing.
I've written down Ward and I've underlined it not 3 times but 4 times just to make sure we check back in for your mental sake. And Cercio in trouble. Down below half. Dark Pillars will come out too. You know why? Look who's waiting. It's Cyber! Off the mark, but the Scythe being there, who needs the Execute, right? We'll take a lot of damage, but again, that Scythe for healing will help Cyber get away from Cjax. Another kill online for that Thanatos, now level 12 as well. Daji, though, keeping up despite not having the same amount of kills. Still up in farm. Hydra's online. We got power spikes. We got Blink if you're Daji. So things are not bad if you're Djungelskogs for sure. They're just not looking amazing.
Right, and luckily for them, we're nowhere even close to that point where it's a real difference maker. Sure, the XP lead hurts, but it's not to that point, you know, where you can't show up in fights. The biggest lead is 2 levels in solo, and solo laners really don't make a huge impact on the game until about 15 minutes when they come over. Dodgy, trying to get a little bit more involved, and that's the one good thing about only having 1 kill, been able to find that jungle a lot better. See all the camps on this bottom half of the map, mostly still up. The top one's on cooldown. Dirty Bubble trying to steal away the purple. Is he gonna get it?
Oh, so close.
Maybe?
Unless that auto is perfect.
Oh.
Test Chernobog, actually. Nah, won't get it. We'll go to Incercio. Meanwhile, Siji and Beacon goes to Djungelskogs, and Daji's on the way and has backup with Reaper, so they want blood for Dirty Bubble and Polymorphs. 3 beads comes out from Dirty Bubble. Ice Steel buffs, takes the teleporter over to join the fray, but so did W-Key Willie. And things are not looking great for Albion. They've already lost 1. They do have some backup now. So Djungelskogs might just take that 1 and back up, but now a re-engage from Nike, interested in fighting more. But the Whirlwind will dissuade the rest of the team from falling up behind W-Key. So just 1 kill in that fight. It goes the way of Djungelskogs, despite everybody joining for the fray.
That could have been turned around soon. Great use of relics there by the Thoth and Reaper. Has to use both against that Cherno Thanatos double dunk combo. And able to escape alive. A really nice play from Thoth, making sure it stays in advantage of Djungelskogs. Now pick up another. W-Key Willie not leaving yet and enter in the mid lane. Gonna be taken down. Maybe opens the door for something like that Gold Fury. They definitely have the positioning, and with Shock in the right lane, you gotta think might be an opportunity here for the Chaos team.
Teleporter will be down for them both as well, and Nike has TP up, so a good chance to out-rotate that Shock if you wanted to take that approach, but we're not seeing it so far, which the longer they go without doing it, the more likely they don't do it at all. One thing I do want to point out, though, you wanted wards, and that left side of the map is lit up like a Christmas tree for Djungelskogs at the moment. So they do have a lot of information, which will lead to safety for the Zonher, despite that Thanatos lurking.
Like seeing it, still not seeing a full rotation towards that left-hand side of the map. Maybe Djungelskogs still content to just steal away the jungle. Daji should get a few camps up there. Might get the blue buff as well. It could be pretty big. Thanatos rotating towards this left side of the map. I don't think On Her knows it yet. So the ward's way higher up, and Curcio needs to back up. Not going to get the memo.
Now sees Dirty Bubble, but it might be too late. The land down going to be good. Not going to catch Dark Pillars, though. So that's a beats jump away from the On Her. Polymorphs take some tower damage as well, which will make Warriors of Albion think better of pushing up into that tier 1 tower. They back up with really not much gains on that On Her aside from the Purification beads, which I'm sure they wanted much more than that on a gank where you use Thanatos Ultimate.
Gotta want that, and I'm really interested to see when these teams start grouping up, because we've already seen way more coordination than I would expect from a team week 3 in by both of these squads, making all the rotates at the same time. Really haven't seen too many kills yet outside the one in solo lane, where it was really just one person on their own. I think this is gonna be a long game for sure if both these teams continue to group up like this and play together. And seeing some new items coming out, the Void Daramu gonna decrease, I still don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but gonna decrease some protections. Still interested to see where solo laners are kind of fitting into that build. It seems like a pretty popular item.
Yeah, I believe it's 10% for the chalk there of magical protection reduction, so a good pickup for Ice Steel buffs. Also a Rage online for the Chernobog, so maybe if I'm Chernobog, I'm using that ultimate a bit more willy-nilly in these next few fights to try to take advantage of having Rage, wanting to get more stacks online to ultimately do more damage. It does have that Gilded Arrow, which would tell me we're going to see an Ornate Arrow later, and definitely a Deathbringer. The Polymorphs will be hitting like a truck once all that stuff comes online.
It will be, and it doesn't look like the Honor. Also, definitely dodgy, not somebody that builds into crit, so unless we see something like a Fail Knot here, we're not going to have to see any Spectral Armors on the side of Warriors of Albion. It's going to open them up huge in the build department, because once this Chernobog comes online, it's a must-build item for both of your frontliners. You have to have it, or you're just dead. Thanatos now trying to make Incursio dead, going to get the stun.
And we'll have backup on the way from Chernobog. Pillar is in the way, and a shield, and a powwow. Everything's being used to get that on her out of there, and it will work out. So why not? A bring-in will just find Dirty Bubble. Cyber will lurk by, but has no opening to go after Incursio. So Warriors of Albion will back up. Instead, new target becomes that Gold Fury. Ice-Steel buffs, and Cyber will play defense for the moment. Gold Fury down to half health. Spirit of the Nine Winds is available for secure. There it goes. It's early. Won't matter. Djungelskogs couldn't get there in time. That's a Gold Fury for Warriors of Albion.
One of like the few times I like seeing an early Spirit of the Nine Winds help them burst it down, but now Chalk's in trouble. When all the way to the back of that fight, might have troubles getting out, but Dirty Bubble, along with the ultimate, should dissuade some aggression. Djungelskogs, though, keep W King, led by W Key Willie.
Yeah, and Chernobog saw the same thing and realized they're in a bad spot. This might just be a Chalk sacrifice. No other way of playing it there for Warriors of Albion. Ice-Steel buff was just in too deep to get away. So Skogs will get a pick despite losing gold, and now it looks like they're going to get Stygian Beacon as well, Fisher, which, I mean, not too bad of a trade, all things considered, when you couldn't even contest the Gold Fury that they lost so easily.
It's not going to be. Unluckily for Djungelskogs, without any of those tier 1 towers down like the Warriors of Albion have, see marginally less use out of that beacon. And I kind of like the change of the Stygian Beacon. I mean, you know me. I was a huge fan of the Titan March. Didn't seem like anybody that played Smite was, though. So never really
common Fisher L take, I gotta say.
Yeah, you know, those are becoming increasingly more common, too. You keep exposing me, like, every game for one of my
Kingfisher
takes.
Live, Kingfisher L, it all fits.
I'm changing my name to Kingfisher Wife, just so there's a W in there instead. We gotta remedy that. Oh yeah.
See,
I mean, yep, still W there.
Yeah, mid game 1 proposal. Don't mind me.
I mean, it's better than the homecoming proposal. A lot more pomp and circumstance to it this time.
Well, I mean, the homecoming proposal was 3 years ago, so like I gotta take some kind of step up. You know, there's progression, there's levels to this.
I thought we had actually been casting together for 3 years there for a second. I lost my mind. I'm like, no way, it's been that long. Only what, year and a half now?
We're coming close to 2, Fisher. Hate to break it to you.
It's definitely no. It was September. It's year and a half.
All right. We got bigger fish to fry, Fisher. Let's talk about builds again, because Polymorphs upgraded their Executioner to Envenomed Executioner fairly early. Usually we see people go that later on in their build, this time doing it before finishing that Dominance. Do you have any hot takes on that? For me, I feel like, I guess it's more circumstantial. A lot of shields in this game.
There are a lot of shields. I mean, I think my reason probably is Backed didn't have enough for the Dominance and figured, you know, they got to upgrade it sometime. That anti-heal is pretty nice too, especially against that on her. The Leather Hood does give you a little bit of lifesteal, I think, so a lot when you factor in that Devos. Should be nice in lane. Now a couple people turning towards duo lane. I guess we'll see if the Envenomed Deathbringer saves the Cherno here.
Oh, a land down from Cyber off the mark. Yeah, great lead there from Incursio. Just no interest in Thanatos this time. And as good as Cyber looked in the early game, Fisher, it has quieted down quite a lot. I was expecting that ultimate to be way more impactful, especially with the existence of the Geb, the existence of the Nike, but since that last kill we saw, it's been pretty tame coming out of Cyber.
It has. Luckily, I don't think it's really anything to be worried about, because even if a Thanatos isn't going crazy getting a ton of kills, as long as they're not inting for kills, I don't think it's too big of a deal. It's something you can kind of see a lot with Thanatos. Cherno now might be in trouble, does have ultimate, but pushes both out a little bit. Surprised they didn't commit for that tower. I guess saw the Kukulkan coming over and thought better of it. But yeah, I mean, as long as Cyber isn't diving into backlines looking for kills and paying for it, I definitely don't mind a quieter Thanatos game.
Surely there's no way Cyber is the Inter when Bob's name is Inter.
Oh no. Oh, that's true. That's
I'm just playing the
that's gonna be
numbers
rough.
game there. It's just, it's factual, you know what I mean?
It kind of is, and also now we're gonna see maybe a little bit more use out of the Deathbringer if that honor goes out. We see a Typhon's Fang from Kukulkan. Not gonna lie, not my favorite item pickup in the world, but you know, not uncommon. We see some lifesteal. Now Polymorphs into the air to avoid Pal out.
Does have help from Dirty Bubble, and on the landing, Dirty Bubble is actually brought closer, which in this circumstance helps out Polymorphs and potentially Warriors of Albion because everybody is coming to this fight. Cyber's in the air, gonna land on C-Jax for the stun, and now the reinforcements are here, so Geb will go down to Bop's Inter. The rest of Djungelskogs not interested in diving the fight quite yet, just looking for a light poke, but Warriors of Albion might step to the Zony Fury or could look for the fight. They have options in this scenario, and they've got advantage on quite a lot. They all have beads still online. Cyber almost caught out, takes a lot of poke, goes back in, looks for Insurcio, but has to deal with the Thoth, who's right there. Oni Fury is down to half, Cyber is dead, full chaos is breaking out, and WK Willie has an answer. It's dive on everybody and make everybody low, but no pickups yet. Spirit of the Nine wins, accidentally deletes the honor, but Reaper has a double kill around it, has a triple kill around it. Dirty Bubble just standing there waiting for the inevitable. It's a quadra kill from Reaper. Ice Steel Buffs will get out of there to avoid the highlight reel, and Djungelskogs will win out that fight, and they'll do it with an impact.
Ice Steel Buff's gonna have to change the name to Ice Steel Pentas, getting out there before Reaper can get that one locked down. And a great play from the Djungelskogs, and that's exactly what you worry about when you let a Thoth up last pick. They do things like that. Thoths kinda can just annihilate teams. Great spacing by Reaper. Damage too. I mean, dived on by a Thanatos, had a lot of damage coming from the Kukulkan and the Chalk, and really never dipped under half HP. Reaper playing this game very well. 5-0-3, been part of every kill so far. I think the only one on either team to have that stat.
That was a weird fight. I think the weirdest thing, and the reason I even say weird, the Kukulkan with the defensive ultimate that accidentally deletes that on her, I think is the sole reason Djungelskogs couldn't comfortably make a play for that Oni Fury, even in the face of Ice Steel Buffs. Just so unlucky there for Djungelskogs. Everything else in that fight ended up going great. The all-star of that fight, despite the quadra kill from Reaper, in my mind, was WK Willie. Dove onto the entirety of Warriors of Albion, minus Ice Steel Buffs, and was able to disrupt everybody, and took a long time to go down, and that's why you picked the Nike.
It did. WQ Willie did a really nice job staying alive. I'm not quite sure why we didn't see Crimson really dive deep in that fight. Might have been back trying to peel off Ice Steel Buffs because, I mean, say what you want about Chalk in terms of like how good they are, what stage of the game. They are hard to kill at any point, especially in Crit just now coming online for the Honor. Did decide to go into Crit after all. Not a build path I'm really used to or think is the greatest, but you know, we do have some interesting builds coming out from a lot of players. A Corrupted Bluestone for the Chalk. I like that starter a lot. I don't know if it's really best utilized on the Chalk though.
There is a lot to break down build-wise, because there's no Spectrals online yet, despite the Chernobog going the hard crit route, and you've got Geb, who feels like synergizes pretty darn well, being able to pick up a Spectral, and be fine themselves would offer a lot to the team. Nike could obviously pick it up, dive deep, but went Void Shield, Breastplate, Mystical instead. Shout out to the Raven Ward there, flying by. It looked majestic, I had to point it out.
It does. I mean, for as much as I didn't like the Raven and Proximity Wards at first, I've come around to them. I'm okay with them now.
See, you haven't played against me enough with the Proximity Awards. I buy those things the second I'm able. I drop them for kills. I int with them. If I die, there's a 100% chance I drop the Proximity Ward first. WQ Willie, no Proximity Ward in pocket. Just regular wards, so not dying this time. Backs up with 2 wards in pocket. Djungelskogs are grouped up on this left-hand side, but same can be said for Warriors of Albion, so calm before the storm, at least for the moment.
They're still fighting over here, over this Oni Fury. We've seen it get started up both times by Warriors of Albion. First time, of course, with that normal Gold Fury. Interested to see who takes it, and neither jungler really close to the action. They're fighting it out in mid lane. I don't think either team really too keen on committing here. I just don't think they want to leave it to the other one. Djungelskogs finally going to make up a little bit of momentum. Chernobog goes away, but luckily with Cherno and that Thanatos can be back in this fight instantly. Djungelskogs think they have a free Oni Fury. It's definitely not free. Here come the Warriors.
Spear of the Nine Winds is online as well, and everyone's breaking through. Oni Fury down to a quarter. Here comes the Spear, but they walked it out just in time, and Djungelskogs are able to get it, but Cyber gets an execute in return, found C-Jax open, now sees WK Willie, who's actually looking to TP out. No, goes back into the fight. It's a split fight, and WK Willie's not in the best spot. Jumps back to safety, pops the Thorns, trying to dissuade anyone going in. Ice still buffs though, doesn't care about the Thorns. He's got an axe, and WK Willie goes down. Now Warriors of Albion, having taken down 2 members, is standing 5 strong. Continue to go in, and Cyber finds Insercio, and Warriors of Albion have now taken out 3. So they lose the Oni, but man, have they gotten themselves in a good spot afterwards.
They have Oni Fury for 3, not even close to worth it. At least they didn't lose the Oni Fury, you know? Gotta look on the bright side of things. So not totally bad for the Djungelskogs, and because of those waves now have to stop it at first tier 2 unless they want to lose theirs in mid lane. Looks like Kukulkan should get there in time to deal with it. Big teleport from Ice Buffs. They're not done yet. They want Crimson.
They want Crimson indeed. Blink already used to try to get away from the Thanatos. The stun still lands. Gets stunned in return and can't find the kill and will die to the Get Blink. Reaper turns around and pops Bubble as well and takes down Ice Steel buffs. Reaper pulls up huge for Djungelskogs and they do a full-on turnaround, and Warriors of Albion lose 3 of their own.
And normally I'm gonna be one of the first to hate on teams for diving a little bit too far. I can't even fault Warriors of Albion there. That's all just Thoth diff. If it's anybody but Reaper up, I don't think any of them die there. Great communication from the Cataclysm to Daji, leading him back into Thoth's range. Incredible response there by Djungelskogs, and maybe now losing 3 is worth it. Because it's only a Kukulkan up. Luckily though, that Spirit of the Nine Winds, you're not going to miss that on the Fire Giant if they can get it there close enough. It's cool, I just noticed Fire Giant S11 is an 8 tag.
Yeah, S11. It's got the purple to it. Spirit 9 Winds is online, so while Fisher, you avoid those sirens, Kukulkan will look for the steal, has it online, will go for it, almost gets it, but the Djungelskogs are able to clean it up. Now they look to take out Bob's Inter for even trying to get that steal. Dark Pillars was defensive, but almost hurt the Kukulkan. Polymorphs almost got erased, will die to WK Willie. Thanatos able to find one in return, it's Insercio. Bob's Inter goes back in on the Kukulkan while Steel Buffs chases out the Crimson in that solo lane. Whirlwind catches 2, the Silence catches the rollout, that's a dead Geb. Ice Steel Buff says that's a dead Daji. They're dropping like flies from Djungelskogs, and Warriors of Albion made it happen again after losing an objective.
You know what, now I might have to go back to old Cynical Fisher, trying to push that one out a little bit too far. Luckily, they still have Fire Giant on their mid laner and their solo, so it could have been a lot worse. I think more than losing the Fire Giant buff, though, now you might lose some of those towers that you just kind of defended with that Oni Fury play. Mid tower should go down. It's a 4-on-2, you don't have your ADC though. It's going to be a slow burn on this tower. The Cyber around the back looking for a kill instead of damage. Will he get it?
Reaper so far has been the ace in the hole for Djungelskogs. You gotta keep him alive, but you just can't do it when you take ultimates like that to the face, and Ice Steel Buffs will get the credit. Now uses a Storm Call to help out, to help Bobs survive. No way Bobs gets out of that, but alternate timeline is a thing to help secure that Kukulkan safety. They get the tier 2 tower, and now they get the retreat, and they got Reaper down as well.
Great play from Warriors of Albion, and a great shutdown too. I mean, shutdown gold at this point in the game going to be a lot less impactful than it would be earlier, but the mentals of getting that 12 kill and assist Reaper off the board, not going to have the Thoth now to defend against this Primal Fury either, and we talk about objective secure a lot. Djungelskogs are going to have to all in for this one if they want to steal it, and I don't think it's worth it. I don't think they should put up any form of defense here. Still going to try it though.
I was gonna say, you say not to, and I find myself agreeing, but they're definitely posturing like they want to. It might be WK Willie's call here, as that Nike is set up a lot. Djungelskogs are backing up the damage, but walking up C-Jax. They won't get it, won't commit. Warriors of Albion get themselves a gold. They've got plenty of gold in pocket now. They've got a much more comfortable lead. We're now 30 minutes in. So next Fire Giant will be EFG. 14 to 12 for Warriors of Albion, Fisher. And it took a while for this game to kind of explode, but once it did, feels like an eternity ago now. It really hasn't stopped at all.
It hasn't, and for the Djungelskogs, I think there's maybe not an obvious place I kind of gotta clean it up, but now we're in that phase where we're approaching full builds, everybody's starters are upgraded, we're kind of heading to the end stage of the game, even if we're not there yet. I still don't think we've seen them initiate too many fights outside of maybe one or two. It's always Warriors of Albion. Now it's Dodgy though, huge kill.
Massive pickup onto Cyber. Can you find more? Palau comes out, will bring back Ice Steel Buffs, who gets the axe away. Booker Dirty Bubble is pretty deep in there. Djungelskogs spotted out, but they do not. The Raven Ward only sees forward. Doesn't give you peripherals. Djungelskogs now go aggressive. They look for Bopsinter. They should be able to find it. Actually, JK, my bad. Bopsinter pops Crimson in return, sends out a Spirit of 9 Winds, but Reaper cleans up the Kukulkan. One member down so far for Djungelskogs to the 2 of Warriors of Albion, but they are not done stepping up. Polymorphs could be next in trouble, getting knocked around by WQ Willie, but Ice Steel Buffs is causing Djungelskogs to retreat as Willie tries to go in. This is a solo laner masterpiece right now, but Polymorphs will eventually go down. Or excuse me, pick up WQ Willie, who goes down. And Fisher, Warriors of Albion, able to make that work on the defense. Djungelskogs not able to get as much as you might have wanted, despite having a couple quick picks and really good damage.
I don't know about Ice Steel Buff, still chasing this one out. If you get a kill, it's huge, but if you die, you stagger your team spawns really, really badly right before EFG. Can he get it though? Aegis by Insurcio still walking through the tower. Ice Steel Buff still finally gonna turn around. Risky play, not gonna be punished. Really glad that Warriors of Albion chose to leave that one when they do. They're gonna have a few seconds on this Fire Giant before WQ Willie gets there. But with that tower teleport, any ward means it's going to be a full 5-on-5 here. I think Warriors of Albion just need to take a breath and reset. They maybe get the better of that fight. Honestly, I don't think there's a big winner or loser, but they sure can't win this Fire Giant. Both teams now have Phoenixes exposed, so both teams really, really going to want this EFG.
All right. Warriors of Albion get themselves Pyromancer. They'll have everybody up for EFG. Ultimates will be back online by the time we get to that point. Relic situation, better for Warriors of Albion, because on her not having relics, at least both of them for that matter, not ideal. That's somebody who's been getting dove consistently throughout this game. That's somebody who you're relying on for so much damage. Djungelskogs do have a Spectral online though, Fisher, so the Chernabog, who is now getting those ornate stacks, has Deathbringer online, it's been upgraded, not hitting as hard as he might have before.
Still hitting a little bit harder than On Her though. On Her hasn't finished up that last item. I expect it to be a dominance there. Doesn't have the ornate arrow either, so On Her's build definitely a little bit less right now than that Chernabog. We'll see if they can make an impact. Chernabog sitting much higher on those damage charts, and Cersei needs to step up in this fight. Like you said, no relics. Does have CC immunity in that ult though. Gonna have to be really careful on the Lion. And I don't know if Warriors of Albion know that, but I'm looking for a big Thanatos ult to start this fight off, and Cyber is still looking far away, not trying to be cut out early. I think they really have the same idea.
I would assume Djungelskogs are on board with you. They're probably playing around On Her getting that Deathbringer, but it begs the question, go get more farm to try to get it online if you're not close already. But Fire Giant Dance will add a lot of time for both sides. The Chernabog has the advantage of being able to roam the map with that ultimate online, Fisher, so we do have at least a moment to breathe. Ice Steel Buffs and Bubble will be the furthest up, but Djungelskogs now have some time as well to finish that farm.
They do. They got to be too careful though. If the Warriors of Albion see they're that spread out, they're going to start up the Fire Giant. Ice Steel Buffs hitting it a few times. Likely just a heat check. I don't think the Warriors of Albion are ready yet. But now they're going to see that Chernabog in the left-hand lane. Djungelskogs have a 4v5 if only for a few seconds. Are they going to take it? They can't let Cherno hit that Phoenix. They got to start the fight now, and they're trying. There goes Crimson.
Dives in deep into the powwow already. There's a Cataclysm as well, but they only found I Steal Buffs, who gets brought back. But Spear of the Nine Winds only hits the Geb, so he's alright. I Steal Buffs is low, but still standing strong. Djungelskogs can't make the fight work. They had to send back Daji, but they might just lose. They will lose that duo Phoenix, but man, do Warriors lose? Cyber Reaper presses the delete key, and here comes the reinforcements. Polymorphs on the rotation, the Dirty Bubble, but they have to retreat back to that tier 2 tower. Nike goes in, finds Bops, bops him. Alternate timeline, though, is available. Will it be enough? No, it will not. And Cercio with the kill. That tier 2 tower not going to stand much longer.
It shouldn't, and Cercio has to back up, though. They're not going to have the Hunter damage on it, and I Steal Buffs zoning well. They have to leave the tier 2 tower completely. For Djungelskogs, though, I don't hate it, but now you gotta get to that Fire Giant. You have 25 seconds left before Thanatos comes back, and that Thanatos ult can spell the end of that fight. I just want to see Crimson hop on that teleport. I don't know what they're trying to solo the minions for, maybe another wave, but I feel like the Djungelskogs are about to lose their advantage on the Fire Giant. They don't look like they have enough urgency.
This would have been a great call to rush there and start it up, but like you said, now you've got to deal with Thanatos, who can get there quick. They're going to start it up now. Daji taking the teleport now. Ultimates are online, but not the Chernobog, so he won't get there with extra speed. There's the silence onto the Nike. Bubble will be here. Fire Giant at half health and being done slowly. They're not going to look for the 50. They're going to back up and look for the fight. They're looking at Steal Buffs. They're looking at Bubble as well. Can they find the picks? They pull back nobody. Cyber to the air, looking to help out the Chalk. Going to land down on Cercio. But the Beads Aegis is enough to turn Thanatos back to look at the Nike again. Steal Buffs was able to get away. Same cannot be said for WK Willie, who goes down. Djungelskogs lose a member, but they get back to Thanatos in return. Spear of the Nine Winds not going to do enough damage to matter for the moment. Bubble gets plucked around. Polymorph's almost dead. Reaper trying to find him. Can he do it? Yes, he can. And Cercio gets the other. Crimson finds one as well. We're looking at a deicide. Steal Buffs will take one with him, but should go down. And that's going to be a deicide for the Djungelskogs. Fisher, that could be game. They got 3 strong. Do they have time?
It could be and it should be. They got 38 seconds. The timer is not the problem right now. It's just keeping Geb healthy enough. Thoth trying to deal with those minions, and Curcio going to be able to shut the Phoenix down, but they're not going to be able to get it. They don't have enough damage yet. That build from the Honor just isn't enough, and they lose a Geb too. There goes their chance to the Fire Giant. Wow.
A huge mistake, literally at the finish line there. Like, they can't even go right to fire. You can start it up, but with Willie, but you'll have to defend from Cyber. You're going to do it a bit slower. Your Titan took damage from fire minions throughout all of that. I mean, that was great from Djungelskogs. They finally get a big deicide. They get themselves some space, but by the time everyone's up, Fisher, does it really matter?
And, you know, I'm going to be a little bit overcritical here, but I do not like the play from Djungelskogs. I mean, the Nike died with the ultimate still up. Thinking that had to be a timing thing, they did receive a lot of CC towards the end of their life there. Would have been really difficult to kind of find an alley to get that off in, but that can't happen. And dropping the Fire Giant, nobody on Warriors of Albion was past the red buff. Not entirely sure why they dropped it, maybe scared of losing it. The Kukulkan was still at base. I think they had a really good opportunity to get the EFG and then bring that fight down. Although, props to them, they do win the fight trade. They're still going to have the position on this fire pit. Or at least they should. Geb and Daji pretty far back, but, you know, all things considered, could have gone a lot worse for the Djungelskogs, so definitely don't hate the play.
We're even Stevens for the next fight, though. Relics online, Ultimates online, 1 already used, 2 already used from Warriors of Albion, looking for that Nike, who is just getting erased, down to just about a quarter health. Does have Ultimate if Djungelskog is needed, but with Thanatos lurking, it's too much of a risk. Nike's got a back. Fire Giant pulled from the Warriors of Albion. It's already down to half health. Djungelskogs don't have anyone there aside from Cjax yet. It'll be up to the Geb for the seal. Blinks into the whirlwind. Can he find it? Cyber with the kill in the meantime. Albion does get the Fire Giant, but they're going to lose Cyber. And Cercio trying to take down Steal Buffs, but man, that mid-guard made it difficult, so he couldn't hit the autos. Finally finds it. Gets the Rampage, gets the Chalk. 2 down for Albion, so they've got Fire Giant on 3. Djungelskogs in return lose Reaper and lose their duo side Phoenix to fire minions.
Tough break for the Djungelskogs, but I feel like I said it last fight. I'm going to say it again this fight. It could have been a lot worse. Sure, you lose EFG, you get it off of two important members. That really, really aggressive side for the Warriors of Albion now, not going to be able to recoup their health as fast as this backline does. So maybe kind of hampers their ability to dive again, but unlike last time, you just lost to Phoenix. You don't have to put up a Phoenix defense now. Warriors of Albion can march right into that Titan room when they're at full strength, when they're at full builds. We see a 3k pot from Polymorphs. Assume one's close behind there for Inter. It's going to be a rough spot for the Djungelskogs. They're going to be on defense for the next 3 minutes. I really don't see a way they're going to be able to push too far out of their Phoenix range without a full DSL.
We got a game. 41 minutes now, 19-23. Djungelskogs and Warriors of Albion both have passed the 100k gold mark, so we're 3k pot territory, to say the least. Most players are on their second rotation, if not just getting to their first rotation in cases of the supports. We're hitting like trucks. We're living through everything. Relics will be up for the next fight. I said the same thing for the last Fire Fisher. Going into this fight, what are our keys to success for, realistically speaking, both sides, with both having had a Phoenix down? Warriors of Albion will have it up sooner. What's the big stuff?
I mean, I'd say for Warriors of Albion, it's keeping the pressure on. Maybe, you don't have to win this game off this enhanced Fire Giant. You're going to have more time. Like you said, Phoenix is about to be back up. You don't want to cede any pressure, though. Djungelskogs are on the back foot. They're without their Phoenix for 2 more minutes. They're without, and the other team is with EFG for 2 more minutes. They know they're not going to be able to make any kind of attack unless they kill anybody. So for Warriors of Albion, keep the pressure on, and more importantly, keep people alive. Djungelskogs likely aren't going to defend this tier 2 tower. So if you're Djungelskogs, you're looking for 1 or 2 kills here and to really start snowballing. Reaper gonna try to get some poke, gonna have to fall back to the Phoenix, so Warriors of Albion starting to really put on the pressure here.
So it's defense time for Djungelskogs. The 3 members who have Fire Giant, it's 3 strong members. You have it on the mid laner and the ADC. If you're Warriors of Albion, which is massive, can't understate that, especially with the build path, the 3k pot for Polymorphs. That's before we even talk about the Kukulkan. That Phoenix also, Fisher, not going to survive a lot from Polymorphs, just a couple autos and it's going to go down. It's a great spot for Albion.
Gonna see what they do with it. Thanatos in the sky looking for the engage. There it is, and Kersey already used the relics.
Reaper already with a kill and already forced an alternate timeline. Reaper with a double kill, but Cyber brings an end to what could have been a game-ending spree from Reaper. 2 lost for Albion. Djungelskogs will step up and begin the chase and look to see what they can find. Crimson will take out Ice Steel buffs. That's 3 gone. Down to the Ganesh and the Kukulkan, and they got 50 seconds to buy. Djungelskogs will chase it as far as they can, see if they can catch up to the Kukulkan. He will get away. We got ourselves another reset game. Matter of fact, Fisher, we could have a potential ending siege considered here from the Skogs. They got 30 seconds until the Chernobog is up to get through the Kukulkan and the Ganesh.
It'll be close, and you know me, I love aggressive ends. I'd love to see them try it. Sending Nike back to base now is going to be teleporting in momentarily once they place a ward down. Only 20 seconds now. They should at least be a Phoenix. Here come the Djungelskogs.
Mid Phoenix goes down. A jump forward from WQ Willie. Shows maybe some intentions, but the call is split. Can be thanks to damage, but notably backing is the Daji to defend. That to me spells no end call, but you're taking a big risk with it. You'll get 2 Phoenixes, you'll save your Phoenix, so perhaps the best call Djungelskogs could have made. But regardless, that puts us to a 2026 at 44 minutes. Warriors of Albion now find themselves on the back foot. This next EFG will spawn with enough members alive for Albion to contest. They're going to look for WQ Willie and Solo, who just couldn't walk away fast enough. Has to use ultimate. It's already gone. Gets slowed. Is going to be gone to Polymorphs. Painted as a happy little accident that Warriors of Albion can now capitalize on.
And a tough blow for Djungelskogs. Luckily, I think throughout that whole fight, they made the smart decision, keeping their Phoenix up. They can now maybe not afford to lose this Fire Giant, but it might not be the end of the game if they keep everybody alive. That Nike is going to be a huge blow. Warriors of Albion starting it up. They are not going to let Willie respawn. Djungelskogs have to do something here. We're sending a dodge.
Fisher, look at the dodge D going for the Titan as the Fire Giant gets started up. Ice Steel buffs is low. Cyber to the sky. Spirit Knight wins, comes out. Reaper dead. Ice Steel buffs dead to Insurcio. Dodge D on the Titan. Titan at half health already. Cyber able to kill one, but the Titan's going to kill Crimson before he can kill that Titan. Now Warriors of Albion may just have the game. It's only C-Jax. Djungelskogs through the Hail Mary, but it's been intercepted by Thanatos and company. Now they can look to run it in and end the game.
It might have been enough. Still 15 seconds before the Nike respawns. If Geb can keep the Phoenix up, but he can't. Cyber does too much damage. Onto the Titan. The Nike's going to be up by the time Chernobog gets there. They might just turn for a Phoenix at dodgy distraction. Might have saved the game here for the Djungelskogs.
It's going to be a really close call with the Nike up. Yeah, the might is the perfect word here. That will be all the Phoenixes. There's no doubt about that, but what can just a Geb and a Nike do? That's a lot of shields, but a lot of time to still buy. 25 seconds until Onher's up, 20 for Reaper. Albion look to be considering it. Bubbles the weakest right now health-wise. No Chalk. They look a little hesitant. They do step in. They look for it now. There's the ultimates dropping down. Warriors of Albion will take game number 1. Fisher, how many times did you flip-flop in your head that game?
About 20 times.
That checks, man. That was a wild ride. I mean, there's so many things to break down. Let's go back to the Fire Giant, to the dodgy Hail Mary play.
I mean, like what? Just general thoughts on it?
Yeah, your overall thoughts. I mean, I know you're shook. My goodness, stick with me though. Listen to my voice.
I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm here. Don't worry. I got you. I mean,
I was gonna say we've cast together enough that surely you can read the wavelengths on that one.
True. I'm receiving. I mean, I definitely like the call. I think if they stopped to take out that wave of minions, they honestly probably could have killed the Titan. But that being said, the dodgy at that fight would not have made a difference from the Djungelskogs. I like distracting. If the dodgy lived like 5 more seconds, then maybe the backline lives, maybe that Titan doesn't die for the Djungelskogs. So I think a really heads-up play by Crimson. It was a long shot, but given what was going on with that fight, with the ending coming, I think probably one of the smarter plays they could have done.
The only thing that could have possibly changed is waiting for another minion wave, but we saw Albion back in plenty of time to defend. Had the minions even caught up, it might have been harder. So just a full commit there, a full send. This doesn't work out that time. And it's a rough game there to go down that way, but at least you know you were keeping up the whole time. So let's kind of try to bring it back a bit, bring ourselves back to reality. Before we take our break, before game number 2, Fisher, ban-wise, if I'm getting rid of the Thoth, first of all. I mean, that has to go.
It does, and on the flip side, the Thanatos also had a really good game. 26,000 damage. I mean, Dodgy did about the same. Thoth did a lot more on her and the solo lane. It's not the biggest damage game in the world from the jungler, but Cyber looked so comfortable on that and able to take off so much pressure from their front line. In all of the last 3 or 4 fights, Reaper and Insurcio had to deal with Cyber, mostly on their own. It really meant that a lot of that backline damage from the Djungelskogs wasn't landing onto Warriors of Albion, and I think that's huge. There's not a lot of assassins that can really draw the fire like a Thanatos can. So for the Djungelskogs, I'd love to see them get rid of that. I think it'll allow their backline to do a lot better in this game number 2, and they already did a good job in game 1.
They did indeed. So with game 1 in a rear view, we'll be right back with game number 2 here between the Djungelskogs and Warriors of Albion. Piddle break! Don't go anywhere.
you play a game I can't escape. I'm caught up in the middle. You're running through my head, and all the things we said. I wish I could forget you. I'm falling like an asteroid. Is anybody out there? I stepped outside into the void. Please hurry up, ignite a flare. Will you ever try to rescue me? I don't wanna see you go. Can you see the dark surrounding me? I wait here for you.
Wake up! It's game number 2 between the Djungelskogs and Warriors of Albion. I'm still Anthony Mel. I'm still joined by Kingfisher with Cat on production. But before we get into picks and pans of game number 2, I do have our weekly ad read for our tournament. So hope you're ready, because I always am for these ad reads. Greetings and salivatations, my friends. It's National Meatball Day and National Crab Meat Day on Saturday. Don't be a bottom feeder. Embark on a culinary adventure by playing Vulcan and Kepri this weekend in our 3v3 Joust tournament on Saturday the 9th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Meet your opponents at the table for a ballin' good time. Sign-ups and check-ins are open until 4:50 p.m. the day of the tournament. Check in the OSL Discord to get yourself signed up and situated for that tournament. Fisher, we're back. Game 1 was fully chaotic, included a base race and quadra kills. So game 2, what does it have in store?
I'm hoping it has a Vulcan and a Kepri in store. All those puns got me really excited to see those two. I want to see somebody break out the Kepri mid. It works so well.
I knew as soon as I was reading that ad, I knew you were going to bring up the Kepri mid, and I was going to have to mentally try to do gymnastics around you, trying to make that pick seem worth it.
That was one of the best mid lanes you've ever seen.
Anyway, Aphrodite ban, that's interesting. Talk about the Aphrodite ban.
Dang, I'm crushed. But yeah, the Aphrodite ban, it seems like something that's picking up a little bit of popularity. I mean, I was casting a Glaria game the other day. It still seems like a really popular ban over in EU. Definitely don't see it as much in NA, but it's a really strong support ban. That being said, I'm a little confused why we see it now. It wasn't banned, it wasn't picked in game 1. I guess there's really nothing to make me think it was going to get picked in this game 2 here. Maybe Djungelskogs knows something we don't, so regardless, strong pick taken off the board.
Me booty is the best
The
booty.
Thoth is still open, but instead, Sobek going to get locked down as the first pick overall in this game number 2. So Warriors of Albion have 2 picks back-to-back to lock down whatever they feel like. If you want the Thanatos, it's open. If you want the Thoth, it's open. There's a lot you can grab here. On her, also made it through. There it is.
Wisdom
I
shall
like
be
seeing
my
the Thoth
shield.
pick, and Athena too. Can't remember off the top of my head if Athena was banned out in game number 1. I don't think she was, but it's seen a ton of uptick in support play, I think specifically back at Season 10 Worlds. Was banned like every single game. Excited we finally get to see one. And that taunt will be massive into that Thoth ult. We're going to have to see a lot of characters with some CC immunity. Or like last game with the Ganesh, picking up some beads to make sure you avoid that combo. That's going to be a good one for the Warriors of Albion.
I do love Athena. I feel like Athena has just been consistently in such an amazing spot in year 11, even having gone through some changes. I like it into Thoth as well. I feel like you get a big lockdown of the taunt and what it brings. You also can support it a lot. One thing you talked about, Fisher, was the lack of CC immunity potentially being impacted in the previous game. And while Reaper played fantastic running the Thoth themselves, add an Athena to that for some extra safety, extra mitigations when needed, and you basically are giving Thoth a get-out-of-jail-free card.
And it'll be interesting to see what the Thoth does kind of with this maybe decreased pressure on them. I mean, Reaper had a great game on the Thoth, obviously now going to be going over to Inter. I think Inter still had a good game on Kukulkan though, maybe not as impactful as that Thoth was, but should certainly be able to pilot this well. Now we get an Achilles locked in, a Heimdall hover. Heimdall still a god that it confuses me a little bit in the meta right now, where I feel like crit is so strong, and just like that, if you didn't believe in Caster's Curse from game 1 with the first blood, better believe now, because it's a Rama.
Well, it still fits the crit that you're talking about. Obviously better than what Heimdall brings, because with Heim, you'd expect the Mannequins build. With Rama, you're going to probably see the same build that we saw the Chernobog go, potentially. But there's also options that we can see. The penetration build going the Silver Branch route is also fantastic right now. You can make Mannequins work. There's a lot of different pathways, and you were talking about that in game number 1 for the Soul Laners, Fisher.
It was. It'll be interesting to see what that Rama kind of builds towards. Same with the Chernobog, and especially looking at last game, I like the Chernobog's build a lot. I think the Spectral Arrow makes a lot more sense than that Cowl, so I guess we'll see what pans out here. Finally gonna see that Thanatos ban. I think that was very smart. I'm a little surprised maybe that they didn't pick up the Thanatos here for Warriors of Albion, but with the Chernobog and the Athena, they already have an insane amount of global pressure. And I'll just say it, I want to see a Ratatasker. I want to see more global ults.
I like the rat here. I think it goes strong, but I'm on the same page as with Thanatos. I feel like Thanatos is a character who is just skyrocketing to the top of the meta. This is before the patch tomorrow. Obviously, we are time travelers. I don't know why I would set us up that way. Regardless,
Okay.
Thanatos has not been nerfed yet in this particular patch we're playing on. He's still strong, and the nerfs probably won't do too much. They're just nerfing the 2. So the Thanatos not going anywhere anytime soon, but Warriors of Albion, sticking with present tense, are going to lock in the Sun Wukong.
And I like the Sun Wukong pick. It's maybe not as tanky as Shock, and we did see Ice Steel buffs getting really, really aggressive last game, even without the Thanatos sometimes, just unlimited pressure, but combining how good the Sun Wukong is on the dive with that Athena, who we all know, an incredibly aggressive support, I think should definitely make up for it. The only thing that worries me a little bit is the fact that Athena, like we said, likes to play aggressive. So does Sun Wukong. These backliners, I feel, are going to be on their own a lot more than they were in game number 1 there. Luckily thought, really long dash, Chernobog has a nice amount of safety. So I don't think it'll be a huge problem, but it's going to be really dependent on who this jungler is for the Djungelskogs.
I was just going to ask you who we would be looking at, but it looks like we've already got ourselves revealed. The Camazotz being hovered for Djungelskogs, and Discordia Camazotz is a combination we do see fairly often get locked together. I feel like as I search through the Rolodex of memory of games I've gotten to cast in the Amateur League, we see it a lot, but I will tell you, Fisher, you called this, you wanted this, the ad even talked about this. Forget the Discordia, throw her out, pick up a spicy meatball, Vulcan, locked in for Djungelskogs.
And this better be a troll hover down here, the Ardio. I mean, Ardio's not a bad pick. I like Ardio, finally getting changed to a pick I like perhaps less, but definitely a more traditional jungler in the Lancelot. And the Camazotz has got me scratching my head a little bit. I like Camazotz a lot. I think Camazotz, no matter the meta, is never really going to be bad. You can do a lot with it. But if you're comparing these two dives right now, Camazotz and Achilles, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't come anywhere close to a Sun Wukong Athena. So I think Djungelskogs are really going to lose a lot of pressure off those two. They can still do really well, but nowhere near as scary as a frontline to go against.
Whoa, 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 whoa!
Okay,
Whoa.
what's happening? What's happening? I don't like this.
Whoa!
Oh,
All right, man. I'm putting the pen
like
cap
this
on
less.
this game. I'm putting the pen cap on for it. There's no notes I could take. I mean, the Loki's not bad. There's stuff Loki can do. We're seeing a lot of split pushing right now. Maybe Djungelskogs are a team that could be affected by mentals. You die to a Loki a lot, your mental gets affected. Before we go to the Loki though, Fisher, I want to talk about the Camazotz, because one thing that I go back to a previous OSL game, going back to last Friday, Crete Division, it was week 2, Warriors of Albion for Crete actually picked up a Camazotz, and their rationale for picking it up after talking to their team captain was safety. Safety in the Camazotz and the Bat Out of Hell, and being able to utilize that safety to keep your jungler alive, keep the farm going strong, and the team fights smooth. I feel like that same thing applies here, if not actually even better, because you have a lot to survive now, especially with the Loki.
It does. There's a lot of CC on that Warriors of Albion team. That being said, there's not a ton of high damage really until that Chernobog comes online. I mean, the final judgment from the Thoth, it can be dodged, maybe if it's a bit hard to. And like I said, I definitely don't hate the Camazotz pick. It's a very, very good god of mine. I like it a lot. I think it does a lot of things really well, but I like it more now that I see the Loki. I'm not gonna lie. Because whatever I was saying about Achilles and Camazotz on the dive, Loki has a tough time if he is not ahead in this game. And Camazotz is a god that's kind of really hard to get behind on.
I will be watching this Loki like a hawk, because one thing I think we'll both agree on, Fisher, just speaking from experience alone, is that when Loki's in the game, you know what kind of Loki you got and what he's bringing to the team right away. You know if it's a demon Loki who's been studying the blade while you were on dates type of thing, and he's gonna go 25-0 and make the other team miserable, or they're gonna split push the entire time, which will be just as effective. And we'll know pretty quickly from Warriors of Albion which it is, and that alone will be easy enough for us from the spectator perspective to get an idea of what they're going at. But that's a lot about the junglers. Let's look at that mid lane again and the Vulcan, because the Kukulkan was fantastic for objective secure. Earthshaker now versus Final Judgment from Thoth. This is a really interesting discussion of objective secure and which is better. I'm going to go Earthshaker. I feel like you can utilize it in a much more effective way than what the Thoth can bring.
It's a little bit of a toss-up. I think Earthshaker is definitely a safer ultimate to cast. It does arguably just as much, maybe a little bit more damage than the Thoth ultimate. I don't quite have the numbers on that. But the Earthshaker, especially if it's somebody that hasn't played Vulcan as much, I don't know how much time that Reaper has on this Vulcan, that can be a really tough ult to time. It's not quite like the other ones, you know? It's not like a Scylla Crush. It's not like a Thoth line, like a Raw line. It can be really difficult to get that timing exactly right. And we saw both teams be a little bit early with their secures last game, so I think that makes it a little bit questionable for me. But I like the Vulcan, it's good damage, and it should be relatively safe against this team. You don't have CC immunity, but with the turret, with the meatball, there are a lot of tools for getting people like that Sun Wukong and the Loki off of you really, really fast.
We keep talking meatballs. I
Well, it
wasn't
was in the
prepared
ad
for
read.
the... I know!
You getting hungry?
Yeah. I had pizza tonight, though, so that's carrying me through that.
I have leftover pizza in my fridge.
You do? Oh, it'd be so cute if you had it later.
I will heat it up later, just
that
for
makes-
you. So we
makes
can
my
both
day.
have pizza today.
Makes my day.
That's a pretty low bar to make your day, but I'm glad I could anyway.
Yeah, you know, you're kind of spitting for that. It was a rough day. So, you know, honestly, I'm glad you brought it up, and I'm glad I get to cast some smite to get through it. You know, what better for sadness than pizza and casting Delphi games, right? And with a
That's true.
Loki.
With the Loki throws a wrench in it for sure. But I mean, yeah, especially after that game one, given how back and forth it was. Normally in a lot of kind of these best of 3 games, it's pretty easy to tell if a game's gonna be over in 2 games or not, given how the first one was. But I'm pretty optimistic about Djungelskogs coming back into this one. They already had a pretty good game 1. And on top of that, whatever shortcomings their roster might have and some gods that normally don't see playing time, like the Kamazots and the Vulcan, I think there are definitely things they can exploit on this Warriors of Albion team. So it's definitely still in the cards for them to take this one back.
It is indeed. I'm really excited to get in the game to see how things start actually shaping up with it. Like I said, we'll be watching this Loki like a hawk the entire time. Also, the dual lane, worth watching. Both ADCs did a lot to go crazy. A lot of different outlets this game where we could look to see interesting stuff go down. And I almost just asked you why I covered my pen cap, but I just remembered it was because of the Loki. But now I'm taking the pen back out because I wanted to write down pizza. I'm really going through it, Fisher.
All I can say is if the Vulcan isn't running the chef skin, I'm gonna be heartbroken for you.
All right, let's go to game. Let's go to game. Go. Oh, look at that! I was on it. All right, welcome in to game number 2, Djungelskogs versus Warriors of Albion. My name is Anthony Malm, joined by Kingfisher still, with Birthday Cat on production. Fisher, horrific emblem for Dirty Bubble. This time a shell coming out from Cjax. But no blinks once again for the junglers, prioritizing the purification beads. Definitely understandable once again, which will mean no sneaky early blink invades on either side lane. But I'm gonna ask you the same question because you were right on it in the previous game. Which lane should we be keeping our eyes on early on in this game?
You know, I think I'm gonna be kind of a little bit contradictory towards last game. Last game it was a mid and seeing kind of how the junglers impact it. For me, it's just gonna be straight up the jungle. These are 2 characters that both kind of have a dive all-in style at times, but that Kamazots is gonna be so much safer than this Loki. And coming off the back of that game, Cyber had an absolute monster showing on that Thanatos. I'm really expecting a lot from this Loki in terms of kind of keeping up with Crimson.
I will be watching the Loki like a hawk. I'll say that for the millionth time because I definitely mean it. I'm really curious how he gets through, especially this early portion, until ultimate comes online. The Kamazats will just have such an advantage, especially in that mid lane 2v2, should that happen. So lots to look for there. Later I'll be looking at Incercio and Polymorphs, who were going back and forth consistently in game 1. There's really just a million things to keep our eyes on, and I don't have enough eyes for it.
There are, and my eyes already see something from last game, at least with Incercio, going for that same build on the Rama, and you know, gotta give him credit, did a lot of damage last game, were able to clean it up after 0-4. I think they finish at 6-1, past like the, 25-30 minute mark. So I had a good ending to the last game. That being said, I don't think this Rama build is gonna be nearly as good as Chernobog's. I'm not a huge fan of the Yassi, but a lot more crit with that Ornate Arrow, a lot easier to get those Deathbringer stacks, could mean a real difference in terms of damage when we get late game.
Cyber on that Loki showing up to help secure that neutral farm for Warriors of Albion. That neutral farm is worth so much, especially on this duo side. So getting it locked down is always massive. You can see what it did gold lead wise for Warriors of Albion. Same said though for Crimson, looking for that neutral farm in solo with W key Willie.
It always trips me up on Spectator how you can't see the borders of the silver and gold cams, but you can in the game. Every time I forget, like, you can't carry it past that range, and I wonder why they don't choose to drag it to their side. But enough about me being forgetful, and I feel like last game the duo lane did not go the way we expected in terms of aggression. I'll say this game again though, Dirty Bubble and Polymorphs should absolutely have the advantage here. I don't think there's a single person in the game that can match Athena in the laning phase. I really want to see that Warriors of Albion duo lane kind of get off to a strong start. Across the map, we saw Willie in some trouble early last game. Luckily, his Achilles, I think, a lot more maneuverable than that Nike was.
Definitely worth noting on who will
there goes
have
Loki.
the advantage there. Loki trying to secure an advantage in the solo lane for Warriors of Albion, looking for that Achilles, who's very low and caught in the decoy and brought down. And haters look away. It's a first blood going to the Loki.
Very true. Loki getting the first blood in today's day and age of Smite. Not used to seeing it, but it happens. Crimson trying to defend this blue buff. That's a bad out of hell too, so we'll be safe. Earthshaker gonna land onto Ice Steel buffs.
So that's a lot of poke gained onto Warriors of Albion, which will back them both away. But Reaper and Crimson split targets, but Crimson needed no help so far on Cyber, but goes the wrong direction. Tough there for Crimson, lands on the blue, low on mana, will not be able to stay for it, has to back away. Tough break there for Djungelskogs, just nothing goes their way in that fight.
You gotta think a little bit of miscommunication there too. Reaper went towards the right side trying to chase after that Sun Wukong. I think would have been better served if the Vulcan tried to help on the Loki. Sun Wukong without ultimate is not gonna die that easily without that big burst like the Earthshaker gives you. On this left-hand side, the Scepter goes to the Djungelskogs. Just like that, Djungelskogs win game 2. I know how important the Scepter is to everybody. I'm learning.
All right, man.
I know. I already got enough hate for that take. I'm not letting it repeat itself.
I mean, if Djungelskogs get it, we go to game 3, and that would just be on par. It'll make your pizza have to wait. A lot of it would make sense, but so far Albion does have the lead, so we'll see how much of a caster curse that actually ends up being. 4 minutes, 30 seconds in, and action's been calm. Loki is lurking over on that duo lane, however, could be looking to make a play. Everyone's pretty healthy on the side of Skogs, so Loki will just head the other way to go be Loki somewhere else.
And unluckily now for Loki, with the ultimates up on Rama especially and Sobek, any gank you try to do, even if you get that stun, they are going to immune every single bit of that damage in your kit by either getting up into the air or down into the waters. So Loki gonna have a real tough time in that mid lane, or in the duo lane rather. I'd expect them to put a lot of their focus onto that mid lane, maybe even some more ganks onto Achilles, but now Achilles with that execute has a really strong movement ability. Right now looking for Crimson though. Crimson doesn't have the ultimate.
And is in a good bit of trouble, but we'll be able to get away there. Bubble not able to find a strong taunt onto Crimson. Both supports having already rotated. I know you mentioned we both have cast some EU recently, and supports over there are staying for a very long time in duo. We're also seeing that a lot in ranked, but in competitive settings, which I've said this a few times, no SPL to go off of. Support's not interested in staying. WQ Willie could be interested in a kill. Somersault Cloud gonna be used. Loki gonna be here, and gonna Loki things. WQ Willie to the grayscale.
And you know, I hate to point it out again, but just like last game, there are no wards on the right-hand side of that map. Now in base is going to grab 2, can see that with the health chalice there for WQ Willie. Finally learning, hopefully not going to repeat again, because that Loki's been pretty successful, luckily this time though. Crimson, able to keep that blue buff. And yeah, even last game, I feel like the supports were level 8 when they first rotated it out. And as an ADC main, I love nothing more than when the support rotates out of my lane. Hopefully, these ADCs now able to get a little bit more farm. Polymorphs starting to lose this one in lane, and Rama, once those supports are out, has such an easier time clearing that wave. With the Astral Arrows, I'd like to see Incursio kind of take a little bit of an edge here.
I wish Polymorphs was using that Aussie a little bit more aggressively. I'd love to see it. If you're going to go the Aussie, in my mind, you're going the Aussie to box. So I feel like it would be great. You know, I honestly also would have liked to see a Death's Toll. An Aussie combined with the Death's Toll could have made for some really great sustain and a lot of boxing potential. Instead, the boxing potential could come from this Athena gank who's still lurking over on that dual lane side, looking to go in. Cjax will dash in mid. That's a go button for Athena on that left-hand side. Gets a taunt off. B, it's going to be forced on Incursio. A dash forward from Polymorphs, but Incursio not going down quite yet, but look who's lurking. Your friendly neighborhood Loki, ready to bring down the Rama potentially. We'll be hanging out in that purple buff and going in Viz, but no opening to dive in and ult, because as Fisher said, Rama ultimate a bit too good for defense.
Doesn't have those beads online, so Loki still would get the stun off, but hard to imagine Loki wins that trade under the tower. Mid lane now, and Reaper, without being on that Thoth, we saw last game, so many kills from distance, pacing themselves so well, you're not going to have that same opportunity on the Vulcan. The Vulcan does hit the archers with the Earthshaker.
They're so dead.
Yeah, those archers got obliterated. Yeah, not quite sure why they use the beats, but you know, better safe than sorry. Cyber now ranging over with, and still has the ultimate in pocket, so still a little bit of pressure onto this Rama. Just like last time though, Incursio still has the ultimate.
Dirty Bubble really wants to dash in here, but Loki's not close enough for it to be an instant kill, so both will go the other way. Just safe farming now for the Djungelskogs. So far, 8 minutes in, 2 kills for Warriors of Albion. They're holding on to a steady gold lead, nothing major so far. The biggest level lead we're seeing is in that mid lane. Bob's Inter taking advantage of the Thoth farm and doing that exact thing with it. Whereas Reaper, we saw did have to ult for the wave. Crimson gonna have to ult for survivability this time, but an ult comes out from Cyber to get on closer. Dirty Bubble is here, gonna hold the taunt with beads, but won't be able to bring him in close enough soon enough for backup from Warriors of Albion. Crimson will be able to get away, no extra kill for the red side.
I like the thought there from the Warriors of Albion. If you're going to use that much utility though, would really like to see them maybe not even get a kill, but get something out of that gank. Really get nothing. I mean, WQ Willie doesn't even have to back. The Kamazots does just to reset this kind of rotation on the farm. Not a whole ton gain there from the Warriors of Albion.
Yeah, no
and I know we
farm, no totem?
No totem either. That's honestly the saddest part. Totem of Skulls. It's no totem of coup, but it's still important. Uh-oh, who gets Scepter? Oh, they get it again.
Oh, nobody saw that.
All we saw was Cjax pick up the Scepter.
Anyway, back to what you were saying before I rudely interrupted you.
You know what? That's okay. I interrupt the team fights enough. You can get 1 or 2, but I mean, not to take it back too much to the builds conversation, but seeing the Sun Wukong not go with a Runeforge Hammer is really surprising to me, opting towards much heavier defense. I think that Athena pick really lets him do that. Athena should be shouldering a lot of that engage. Even so though, feels like Icesteel buffs may be leaving a pretty big chunk of damage out on the table.
Does have Prophetic online as well now, so we'll see potentially some earlier rotations. Usually soul laners like to go and get their stacks going as soon as they're able, usually around that 10 stack mark for their physical amount, depending on who they're against, of course. Earthshaker into Crimson, diving on to Inter. What a combo there, completely caught Bop sleeping for the pick in the first kill for Djungelskogs.
That's unfortunate. Inter was out of the circle too, walked back in. Don't think they actually saw the circle, or maybe it turned around before that. Either way, it's a really tough break there for the Thoth. Still keeping up at the XP though. Last game we saw Reaper have a huge impact, and as of right now, still doesn't have a lead in that mid lane. In fact, the biggest lead is 2 levels in support there for the Djungelskogs. Cjax has been getting an upper hand of that Athena, maybe a little bit of a side effect of teleporting around so much. You kind of miss out on a lot of the neutral farm by sticking with your mid laner.
And you can see that jump in experience after that kill in the mid lane, where before that, Bops actually was working out pretty well on the Thoth. So, Reaper bringing it back. 1 minute away from Stygian Beacon, which in game number 1, the first Stygian Beacon was not contest, but that was the first sign of a lot of action on this left-hand side of the map. There was a lot of fighting around gold, deep by purple, the Chaos side green buff, all around that post-Stygian Beacon point.
I like that you mentioned the fighting on the left-hand side of the map, because kind of shocking, not once last game did we see any sort of Pyromancer fight. I'm used to seeing at least one. Hopefully this game, these teams going to have a little more presence on some of the smaller objectives. Seemed like it was all Gold Fury until that last Fire Giant. Achilles still trying to get Sun Wukong into execute range, and credit to Iceal buffs, maybe that's a reason for the tankier build, has not come even close to being executed yet, as far as I can tell.
It's been a much differently paced game. I feel like the Loki was showing signs of maybe going a bit crazier early on, maybe making up for lost time here. Gets the ultimate onto the Rama. Will follow up, have backup from Polymorphs. Rama to the sky, hits 1, hits 2. Cyber could be in trouble, hits 3. Can he find the auto? Not quite. Cyber able to secure the kill, but way closer than that Loki might have expected. Stygian Beacon is up, and Djungelskogs are getting Warriors of Albion off of it.
And that's so unfortunate for the Djungelskogs. No high wards on that left-hand side. The Loki literally walked within a foot of that Sobak. Cjax didn't end up turning around, but a big kill there from Cyber. And it feels like, just like last game, maybe if the Loki isn't as dominant as the Thanatos, still 100% kill participation, all 3 kills for the Warriors of Albion. Sitting on that Loki, did not have that one on my week 3 bingo card, I'm not gonna lie.
As soon as it was locked in, I knew it. It was going to be one of the two. It was going to be the Loki gets the 1,000,000 kills, or the Loki farms the entire game and then split pushes. So far, it looks like Cyber is a fighting Loki, which could prove to be hugely beneficial for Warriors of Albion. At this point, Fisher, we're kind of getting to that first power spike area. The Loki is starting to work on what I'm assuming would be Hydras or Heartseekers here. I would go a Hydras would be fun.
Probably Hydras.
Especially given the play style, the aggression from Cyber. Iceal buffs working on some damage as well. ADCs getting their next big point of damage on. Akins for Insercio, while looks like it's going to be another Rage coming out from Polymorphs. So with power spikes around the corner, how do you set up well for your power spikes to matter? Is that where your warding phases come in? Are you setting up for those rotations to the objectives once you have the power spike online?
I mean, I think it's probably easiest to identify for Warriors of Albion. They want to get a lot more aggressive in these next 2 to 3 minutes. Sun Wukong's building that Runeforge Hammer, going to have a lot more damage. If you're able to finish up the Hydra, is going to be a nice power spike for that Loki. And with the Rage online, that's already, even without being stacked, a lot of critical chance. You know, nobody on Djungelskogs, really besides that Achilles, have a lot of physical defense online. Factor in that, factor in the Loki, factor in the Sun Wukong. All these next few fights should go to the Warriors of Albion once they're able to get these next items online. Sun Wukong gets his. So I'd really expect to see them start kind of trying to push that pressure over here at the Gold Fury or the Pyromancer. Regardless, I want to see Warriors of Albion take a fight here.
I would love to see the same thing, because I love fighting between these two teams, and they seemingly love to fight, so it can't be that far away. Certainly, you haven't seen our first big solo rotations either. An ultimate from Polymorphs looking for Insercio, has double Dirty Bubble there as well. Not going to find the taunt. Said Cjax is there, so is Crimson. But look who's also lurking is Cyber on that Loki. So enough for everybody just to say, all right, we're cool, we're cool. Back away.
Nobody wants to fight a Loki, even if, I mean, in this game, Loki's doing pretty good, but even without Loki, very annoying god to fight. I don't think any of them want to put up with it. I guess Sun Wukong's annoying too. No back for you, W Key Willie. Going in aggressive, Tiger stuns a minion, Iceal buffs. Might not be able to get this fight. Wishing he had the execute right now. Willie's pretty low.
I think that's why Willie feels so confident fighting. You get too low as Ice Steel buffs, doesn't matter really too much what you've done to W key Willie. You can just get killed. It's not the funnest experience, but it's effective, especially if you are that Achilles. Pyromancer and Gold Fury still up, and the Athena is currently sitting on the Gold Fury, getting it warded up for Warriors of Albion. Cjax will dash in. We got ourselves a good old-fashioned ward. Well, Cjax doesn't have any pockets, so he's just hanging. He's the physical ward. The wards are his eyes. The wards are his vibes.
Pretty much. I mean, this early in the game, supports can kind of just roam around at least a little bit without worrying about being deleted.
I appreciate the
by
support
the
on
enemy
that one.
team. I got you. Remember, I'm here to help you out. But I mean, the kin size from the Rama means Athena probably not going to be able to do that same thing. That level lead for the Sobek coming up really big right now. Speaking of, there goes the Athena on for a little ride. Not anything going to happen though. Dirty Bubble walks away from that one. No kin size in mid.
Plenty tanky with that Sovereignty combined with Thebes so far. Not to mention that Sturdy Shard, which does a lot more than you might think. It shows right there, helping the Athena keep alive. Bubble still around that gold, and with the wards on it, neither team can hard commit to it, which has brought us to a bit of a stalemate. The biggest action going on in the map right now is W Key Willie behind that tier 1 tower, getting proxy farm on the sealed buffs, who's in turn forcing them away. Might have actually stolen the blue there, considering it isn't around the belt of Ice Steel buffs. Got their buff stolen. Taunt in for Dirty Bubble. Now the pluck to get the Athena away. A dash in from Polymorphs. A horrific as well. There's the beads. Everything's getting dropped in this fight. But the Sobek lurking in the waters. That'll put the fire out, at least for the moment, until Cyber can get there on that Loki, who is nearby. We'll look for the Sobek instead. The Rama's gotten too far away. This could be a dead Cjax on that Sobek. Polymorphs goes in too, but they get to kill him. Now the stun, a dash, finally. Down goes the crocodile. I almost hit the gator, but I would have never forgiven myself.
Yeah, that'd be absolutely heinous if you called the crocodile the alligator. I don't think a person in chat ever would have forgiven you. Oh,
I'll call the dead Wukong.
Okay.
I will call the dead Wukong indeed to Crimson. Stygian Beacon now started up by Djungelskogs. Warriors of Albion are lurking nearby, but don't seem to have an interest in taking the fight at the beacon.
Little bit surprised they don't without Cjax there. I mean, you can see whenever the solo laners walk over that teleport, Willie has a tower teleport down. Might have been an opportunity for the Warriors of Albion to get in there. Regardless, though, might have to give this Pyromancer up. Dirty Bubble's here, and they do have Final Judgment on the Thaw, so Djungelskogs gonna just drop it for the time being. And that's kind of the good thing about Athena. Even if you're down in levels like this, you're still scary. I doubt that Achilles wants to pick a fight with a level 11 Athena.
There'd just be no benefit to it at this point. We got to see those solos rotate out a bit, just didn't see as much from it as we may have wanted, aside from the kill for Crimson. 2-4 now, coming up on 19 minutes. The gold lead has been stagnant a majority of this game. Warriors of Albion with just a slight lead. Cjax, though, has been Johnny on the spot with these wards, and I think Bubble has taken personal offense to it. They've been back and forth the whole game. You'll have to see that from your supports. But other than that, Fisher, this game has been completely different in terms of feel from game number 1.
It has, and a little bit of that might go up to the team comp difference. It's two pretty different teams than we saw game 1, so maybe both of these teams having a little bit of a trepidation as to kind of how to approach this one. Inter getting a little bit closer with the Sobek, and that tier 1 tower is so low. I'm a little bit surprised they don't just dive all these tier 1s to kill him real quick. Maybe waiting on that last Stygian Beacon to come up. I mean, that'll get him instantly, and yet again, Loki's here. Ooh.
Cercio, though, turns around, gets the auto Polymorphs, considering going in aggressive, but we'll just land down, not wanting to overcommit onto the Rama here and force what they don't have. Djungelskogs have enough wards on the Gold Fury that it is not at risk. Having to go to Pyro would require you walking past the Vulcans, so we're right back to the same old stalemate. Only thing could turn it, this will be a dead tier 1 tower to the side of Djungelskogs. They look for the fight as well, but a taunt onto it Cercio keeps Polymorph safe. And Cercio steps up regardless, looks for as many autos as he can get off, but it isn't many, and the poke is light, so Albion will get away.
Yeah, and without that crit yet, that Athena really not gonna die too quickly to the Rama. And Rama building into an oboe, so maybe this is a non-crit Rama game, in which case I'll revoke anything bad I said about the build, because I would like it significantly more. Still gotta wait a little bit to see. And even with that Pyromancer going down to the Djungelskogs, we're still seeing no action on the Gold Fury, and for how much the junglers and the supports have been on this side of the map, I'm really surprised. And now they
Ooh, here
started
come.
in an aggressive fight. I don't know about this call from the Djungelskogs.
Skogs took the teleporter, so they want it bad, but a taunt already comes out onto W Key Willie. Earthshaker for secure is good, and the Skogs get themselves a Gold Fury. Can they get away too? Crimson can take bubble, that's for sure. Seajax will go down in tandem. Crimson to the sky to try to help out Incercio, who's going to use that beads. Icesteel buffs will continue chasing down the ADC. Hunter mains look away. That's a dead Rama to the solo laner. Tell me if you've ever seen that one before. But Skogs do get the Gold Fury, and they lose 2 for it. But at least they got the Athena right back.
Dang, that's sad, man. Hunter mains look away. Rama not able to walk out of that one. Died with the ult too, but honestly, at that stage, Rama ult becomes less about saving your life and more about just kind of prolonging your death, so won't hate on them dying with that one. Now tier 1 in the mid lane, easy pickings there for Warriors of Albion. Might want to look to get that right lane before they're able to take this beacon. Don't know if they'll be able to, but even at this stage in the game, you're still up in gold. An ADC and a support for a support and a Gold Fury is still a pretty solid trade for the Djungelskogs. It definitely doesn't hurt you at all, but kind of crazy our first Gold Fury goes down 21 minutes into this game. Talk about a slow burner.
Very much a slow burner. And, you know, one thing I do want to say, jokes aside with the Hunter mains look away, the build that Incercio is going, who, by the way, has a proximity ward, shout out to Incercio.
Let's go.
MVP of the game for me. Going that build, I assume that'll be a Silver Branch at the end, would synergize very well. Can just kill that Sun Wukong. Won't be that tough of a task, which will be massive if you get Dovan come late game. Sun Wukong is a character who a lot of people rave about the early, the mid game, but once you get to that late game, you're kind of samey each team fight. Not a lot you can do to work around and set up for your team. Achilles, the polar opposite in the sense of getting around with the execute. So should be a fascinating one to watch from the Hunter side. Fisher, Djungelskogs looking to get aggressive.
They're trying it. Dirty Bubble dropping low too. They might not have enough to shut him down. No Athena the ult is going to save you now. Dirty Bubble should fall. Seajax can't get there, but the Rama snipes to it, and Curcio picks up the first one of the fight.
Earthshaker hits Cyber as well, which will keep the Loki from re-engaging into the fight, but sets up the Djungelskogs to go right to the beacon. Take their time, do what they want to do. They can get the tier 1, the beacon. They could even get crazy here and head right. A great play there from the Skogs to keep the pressure on. They'll have a lot of golden pocket from it as well.
And that they weren't able to get that tier 1 down before the beacons hit. I don't think they'll care too much though. Djungelskogs with a nice call into Dirty Bubble might open stuff up around this map. Unluckily though, Athena spawning, Athena ults means Athena will be back in any fight before they can really take off here. Dirty Bubble just now respawning. Djungelskogs with maybe a little bit of a temporary advantage. But now there's nothing on the map until this Fire Giant gets taken down for about the next minute, 2 minutes. We got a jungle fight on our hands. Is Reaper gonna help?
No, it looked like Kama might have tried to utilize being able to see Cyber to try to force a fight there. Maybe try to force an ultimate out, but not going to find it there for Skogs. If you're just joining us, we're 24 minutes in, 4-6. Skogs have the gold lead. Albion has the kill lead. Albion also has the game lead, currently winning this best-of-3 series 1-0. But Djungelskogs, Fisher look like a different team coming into this one, not bothered by the failed base race of game number 1.
They don't, and I think part of that has to kind of owe to the fact that they didn't have a bad game one. While they lost, you know, definitely far from a bad game. Gonna now try to take this Pyromancer against the Warriors of Albion. Cyber's close, so is Inter, so at risk of being stolen away, they're just gonna drop it though. Now it's gonna turn into a full team fight. Chernobog needs to get over here.
Big taunt there from Bubble, brought 3 back, and the damage will follow up to be decent, at least to force the Aegis from Incercio. An Earthshaker comes out as well, not going to find a home. Icesteel buffs. Decoy will definitely get exploded, but the real Icesteel buffs is standing up and is okay back behind that Pyromancer. So the fight does sizzle, but look who's in duo. Getting their split push on, not the Loki, it's the Chernobog. You've got double danger here in terms of being split pushed on. If you're the Skogs, not easy to deal with. They'll send Crimson to deal with the Chernobog.
Inferno taking a lot of damage too. Crimson doesn't want to push this one out. I got so distracted in that last fight. I thought Ice Steel buffs was the Achilles, and they were absolutely just inting there into the backline. But now Willie being drawn into the backline of Warriors of Albion, not low enough to commit yet. There's that Rune Forge Hammer. That's what we love to see.
So many Raven wards. It's fireworks out there. Where's Katy Perry?
I love seeing my former birds on the arena. Can't lie.
Pyromancer started up
fellow
and,
birds.
dead before anyone can breathe. Djungelskogs with the pyro, with the bomb, fellow birds. My apologies, Fisher.
No, I said former birds. I got it wrong. That's why I'm so disappointed.
All right, now now you're putting too many words out there.
Okay, all right. I'll be quiet for the next 3 minutes. You got it till the 29-minute mark.
All right, we've seen enough feedback to know that I will have my seconds counted. I will be put on a list somewhere. So that's a no-go for me.
Don't worry, I'm not going to leave you on your own until 21 minutes, especially with fights coming up around the corner. I feel like you're going to need a breather. This is kind of the point in the game where things really start to heat up, even in these slow-paced games. And I will never get tired of seeing Sobek just toss people around.
It's going to force the ultimate as well from SWK into the sky. Chernobog split pushing again, but has ultimate. Can get right over to this fight and right. Here he comes, the difference maker. How big is it? Cyber already forced to use the Aegis. There's the land down from Athena into the kill of the Rama. Big so far for Warriors of Albion. Can they find even more than that? Reaper got the juke shoes, but it looks like the shoes have been taken off. Cyber with the kill. Can the Achilles turn it around? No, it's body blocked. Alternate timeline comes through. Crimson looking to do cleanup duty. 5 spots enter, but can't find more so far. We'll get the bat out of hell out of there. And same thing for W key Willie, hitting that W key out of there. Warriors of Albion get the better of the fight, and now we're set up to do much more on the right-hand side.
We're just going to settle for this tier 1 tower. I don't know if they exactly have the health to go for that Fire Giant. I really would have liked to see it, though. I don't know if they knew that the Achilles and the Camazots both backed up. They definitely would have had a chance to get it. That being said, though, just grabbing a tier 1 tower, not risking any further life. Never going to hate on it. Maybe going to have a chance to go scoop that Primal Fury off of the board. So the only point of contention is that Fire Giant really allow themselves to focus on that right side of the map. I think that'd be a really good start for him. Now's about the time where you're really going to see that crit build come online for Polymorphs, and we're going to see the difference there. Because like you said, in Cercio with that pen build, he's going to destroy the people like Sun Wukong, but probably have a tougher time with the dive like Loki than he would with that crit build, able to kill him in like 2 or 3 shots.
I'd be remiss not to point it out. Cyber walked up to the tier 2 tower in the dual lane, hit it, but did not kill it because there was a couple minions left. But the minions let Cyber down, left the tower at maybe 10 HP, and Rama killed them. So tier 2 tower still standing, if not barely, but just an interaction that I had to point out because who knows how much that could matter, especially when you're going to split push. Even that one auto buys time, and time to force the Chernobog to ult back over is time you are not being split pushed.
Beacon now gonna go to the Djungelskogs, so tier 2 tower left standing. Would have been the final push there for the Warriors of Albion, wouldn't have had to deal with it. Luckily though, I mean, that's even a 1 auto from Sobek, but now Willie in the jungle catches out 2 and Cyber's almost dead, he is!
Reaper does just that and takes out Cyber. So Djungelskogs want more than that, Fisher. They step up, they dash up, and Cjax looks for a pluck. Can't find it right away. Djungelskogs group back up to get the tier 2 tower in mid and posture aggressive in the jungle. Content from Bubble onto Crimson, but Cjax knockup keeps Ice Steel buffs from getting too aggressive onto the Camazots. And Cercio steps up to the mid Phoenix with Reaper. Looks like they want that Phoenix. Earthshaker? Won't hit, but it was close. Cjax steps in, has Incercio as well. The Sobek is getting obliterated and is gone to Polymorphs. A big overstep there. Can the execute find a home for W Key Willie? Yes, it can. But can Incercio survive? No, he can't. Double kill for Polymorphs. Barely alive, dancing between W Key Willie. Crimson able to find it with the Screech. Now the jump away from Ice Steel buffs. He could not find it. Turns around, wants to get the cudgel. It lands, doesn't get the kill. Can't set up for Bob's Inter either. And they realize they're the last 2 standing. They've got to back up. Djungelskogs back up as well. It's a weird 2 for 2. Started with Cyber dead, and everybody goes their separate ways.
A little bit surprised that they weren't able to get the kill on the Ice Steel buffs there. The Sun Wukong was so low. Looked like Reaper wanted to back out of the fight a little bit before the rest of the Djungelskogs. Now with, I believe, Cyber respawning, I'm just still scratching my head on how they died. I think it was a Divine Ruin Lightning. The only kind of tick damage I can think of in that Vulcan's build there. It would have been huge there for Reaper. And now Djungelskogs sitting at maybe a little bit of an advantage because all throughout this game, it's been close, but I think Warriors of Albion undeniably have had the upper hand. Now I steal buffs. They have to ult again.
I can't imagine a world where that's worth it. Burning your ultimate like that. That's an ultimate that's so useful for steal buffs, and for a lot of people's money, that's what makes Sun Wukong worth it late game. Nothing else is major there. It's just getting in deep and having the get out of jail free card to aggress into the backline. With that gone, Djungelskogs can just walk up to Pyro. They're ringing the doorbell, and next up they can just step inside the house and they can look at Fire Giant and know they have a big advantage. Only thing that they don't have an advantage in right now is relics. And I suppose vision, but neither team seems to be going crazy in the vision department.
Luckily for Ice Steel buffs, that is maybe one of the shortest ult cooldowns in the game, already back to 3/4 ready.
Yeah, my goodness.
Gonna have some cooldown reduction there, obviously, with the Breastplate of Valor. Can't remember off the top of my head if Corrupted Bluestone gets it, and this is another Corrupted Bluestone. I know I talked about it last game, but I mean, compared to the other Bluestone, the Bluestone Brooch, I just don't see it being as strong. Gonna be really interested to see if that attack speed decrease really hurts him. Endured Bubble with a good taunt, gonna start this fight out.
Seajax looked for the pluck on the Polymorphs, that didn't work out. Full drop a Horrific on the way out. So Sobek drops some gas and Warriors of Albion step away, cover their noses, go back to Fire Giant, and dare Djungelskogs to follow them into the pit.
They're gonna be stepping up here. Warriors of Albion might be looking to wait this out. Willie with a big blink.
And the Earthshaker gonna hit massive onto Dirty Bubble. Now W Key leads Insurcio in. Double kill for the Rama to the sky. Hits the snipes. Down goes Bops as well. That's 3 dead already for Warriors of Albion. And Ice Steel buffs may be joining soon. Will get the ultimate off, however. Cyber lurking, but what can a lone Loki do in a situation quite like this? Just drop decoys and run away. Ice Steel buffs will go the other way. Djungelskogs are calling for Fire Giant.
Honestly, might have been able to skip it and just run it straight down to the Phoenixes. As long as they can get this fire, though, it'll be a good play. Loki can be way too far away to steal. They're just going to give it to Djungelskogs. EFG, 33 minutes in. You just see him make something of it. Oh, no, Loki's coming back?
And Sun Wukong is also in the pit. It's going to be a close call into the Fire Giant. It's EFG too. It matters big. Djungelskogs will get it. Cyber already invis, so will get away. Same thing with Ice Steel buffs. Djungelskogs down with EFG around 5 members here at 33 minutes in this tied game, 11-11. So it's looking good if you're a fan of the Order side, but you also can never count out a Loki and a Chernobog in situations like this, Fisher, because the threat of a split push. We saw a base race in game 1 from a Daji. Loki and Chernobog are built for this. There's no safe moment to beat Djungelskogs.
There isn't. Luckily for them, though, all their Phoenixes being up means they're going to be able to be a lot more aggressive with how they push this out. Might look to go for Primal Fury here. I guess doesn't give a ton of value, but just taking that off the board should help whenever these next big objectives come up without having that added distraction. They should get that Bastion too. Indeed, Kamazotz are taking it. That might outright kill that left tier 2 tower. I'd love to see him get at least 1 Phoenix off of this push. I think they have to if they're going to make it worth it. Raven Ward, just to light their path, I guess. 2 of them.
Won't catch the Loki, though, because the Loki is over by green buff.
Oh, look at that tower.
Not going to go for the flank. Tower will die as well. Kamazotz is in the mid lane. So a 4-1 push here for the Djungelskogs to get the minion waves up, which is always a great call. Albion do have their Chaos minion wave pushed up in solo, which could help if they can mount a good defense here. There's a proximity ward. I love to see that. We dare you to go in. That's a big slow. What is it, 20% for 75 gold? Value, Fisher, value. Oh, blink in from W Key Willie. Earthshaker follows up, but not going to find a home. The Meatball does, but Ice Steel buffs penetrates into the back line, looking for a kill. The only one dead, though, is the Rama to Cyber on the defense. The proximity ward not going to help out a whole lot here, and getting Djungelskogs out of dodge. WK Willie will stay in the back line to try to help the team get away, but now the Warriors of Albion will collapse onto the Achilles and try to be the heal. Dash from Bubble, taunt, dead. Polymorphs with the credit. Skogs get one Phoenix, but you have to imagine they wanted to go better than that.
Not to, and don't like that death from Willie if you're the Djungelskogs, but it's better than the alternative than your entire team running down to the Phoenix, not being able to put up that defense. A really nice sacrifice there from the Achilles is going to mean the rest of his team still live and that defense comes. And a 3-on-5, but it's a 3-on-5 when you have Enhanced Fire Giant, when you have Fire Minions. It's not an impossible Phoenix defense, so if you're Warriors of Albion, you got to go in with that knowledge. You're not just going to give you this Phoenix. This is going to be a hard fight, and they look like they want to take it.
I like this fight a lot. I love the pressure here from Warriors of Albion. They want to just call game and get themselves out of here. Earthshaker, though, could pull up massive forces, everybody to spread like cockroaches, and that buys time for Reaper to stay alive and for Crimson to bring down Cyber. Next up could be, will be, I still buffs. Double kill for the Camazotz. Djungelskogs mount their own wonderful defense and force the Warriors of Albions to get out tail between their legs.
And it might be a little bit too early to call game, but you got to think they have a chance. Another kill can do it too.
Triple?
Crimson gets one down.
Could be another one for Crimson, looking for Bop's Inter, has to avoid the stun, does jump, alternate timeline. Quadra kill for Crimson, doesn't care about the timeline, and the Djungelskogs will group up into the dual lane and look to push it out. That's 25 seconds to dead sprint to the Titan Fisher. They have a great chance at this.
They do, but they're damaged a pretty substantial distance behind their front line. They're going to have to keep that Athena busy for a few seconds, and all I've learned is alternate timelines do not like your big kill calls. Still, though, Djungelskogs have a real chance here. They should be able to get it done.
Here they go, on to the Titan. Only dirty bubble for the defense. 5 seconds until the Loki is here for reinforcements. But do you have 5 seconds? Vulcan says no with the big ol' nuke, and the Djungelskogs will force us into a game number 3. Well, Djungelskogs take it, Fisher, and that last defense was just so picture perfect that there was just nothing Warriors of Albion could do. The quadra kill to win the game there for Crimson. You can't write it up any better. Reaper, who had the quadra kill in game number 1 with the Earthshaker to seal the deal, and the damage and I still buffs during the defense as well. But the Earthshaker on the Titan to seal it out. At the end of the, again, another finish line moment, but this time Warriors of Albion are the ones who fall apart.
They are, and I know I was questioning early game probably both of these jungle picks, but seeing that Camazotz 10-0-5, 100% kill participation, absolutely answered any questions. Huge game from Crimson, top damage on the team, not quite top damage in the game. Chernobog able to beat them to it by just a little bit. And that's a massive game from the jungler, especially the end there. Like you said, that quadra kill, rather, goes crazy. It lets him win the game. And now looking towards game 3, both of these teams still have so much to be confident about. We said it game 1 when it was on the other side, but Warriors of Albion, it's not a bad loss. They still played good that game.
Yeah, that's 2 games now where neither team looked particularly bad, just couldn't get the better of the other, and that's what these series are made for. That's why it's not a best of 1, it's best of 3. So, you know what that means? Snack time. Hashtag Piddle Gang. We'll be right back on OSL with game number 3 between Djungelskogs and Warriors of Albion.
For speaking ill of me behind my back.
Welcome back. Hope your bathroom break went splendid and hope your drinks are nice and refreshed because we've got Game 3 between Djungelskogs and Warriors of Albion. Switch sides again. Warriors of Albion are Order. Skogs are rocking Chaos. My name is Anthony Malum, joined by King, Fisher, and Cat on production. Fisher, what are we looking for? Let's keep it nice and simple.
I mean, I'm looking for a long game 3. I grabbed 2 water bottles this game instead of 1. I'm locked in. I'm ready for a 50-minute barn burner. I don't know if it's what chat wants, but it might be what we see.
Let's take it easy. No, I mean, bring it back a little bit. I mean, a 50-minute game is fun and all, but like, if it happened to be 28 minutes and I could get under the blankets a little bit earlier, I wouldn't be upset.
I don't know. I think I'm ready for the first hour and a half Smite game. I think the world's ready. You know,
there was a Dota game once, 200 minutes. If it goes to 200 minutes, I want you to know I'm no longer casting. I'm just gonna talk to you.
Could you imagine? We already get off track in like 30-minute games. Could you imagine us at 2 hours? Like,
would not be good.
Discussing like what our favorite soups are or something. It'd get entertaining, I think.
See, I'm not a big soup guy, but you know what? We save that.
Of course, it sparks something. Yeah, tell you what, this game crosses the hour mark, then we'll talk about soup.
Then you can ask me about the soup, exactly.
Okay, I'm writing that down right now. I'm not gonna forget.
You know what? I will too. Hang on. I don't know if you can hear my pen cap, but there it is.
I don't think I can hear the pen cap.
And I spelled it with 2 O's just to make it
imagine
cute, because now I can turn so it's S-O-O-P, and I can turn the 2 O's into a smiley face.
I mean, my favorite soup is Bean Soup Bob. Just saying.
Bean Soup Bob won the duel tournament. Shout out to Bean Soup
Did
Bob.
he?
Make sure you sign up for the Joust tournament this Saturday. Anyway, picks and bans are happening. Thor, Sobek, Camazot's gone. Lamana, Charon gone so far from the Djungelskogs side.
I thought we were going back to the ad read instead of doing the picks and bans for a second there. And I gotta say, I
would make April happy, but only one out of night's okay.
Yeah, I'd love to see a Thoth ban instead of a Thor ban, I think, like we originally saw in there. But a Camazot's ban, I mean, you just gotta agree with. That was absolutely the game changer in that game number 2. An incredible performance from Crimson. Have to take the Cam off the board.
I'm also completely okay with getting rid of the Camazots. It looked too good. The Thoth might be what's taking this last ban take some time. Unsure if you want to grab it yourself. Leave the risk of Warriors of Albion taking it. Obviously, it's been a contest pick so far. The Cuckoo will be what Skogs ban out. So I wouldn't be surprised for this to be a first insta-lock Thoth, but instead, actually, Hachiman, who was banned Game 1 and Game 2, will be making the debut of this set for the Warriors of Albion.
Yeah, I don't know if I love that pick. I feel like I've said a lot of times with how good Hachiman is, I really don't feel he does too many things much better than all the other ADCs to warrant this high, especially when you know, or at least Djungelskogs should turn around and take that Thoth. Reaper looked incredible on it Game 1, still had a good Game 2 as Vulcan, but undeniably was the star of the team in that game number 1 with Thoth. You're gonna hover a Bologna, which did get banned out in Game 1. I don't think it saw anything in Game 2, but if this is a Bologna Thoth early, that is already so much pressure on your team. I think it'd be a great top 2 for the Djungelskogs.
Makes you wonder if there was too much prioritization of the Hachiman if that Thoth does get locked in, because the Djungelskogs having that would be so good, as you said. Equal Rally getting nerfed on Tuesday.
Oh.
But instead, it's the Kappa man, Kuzumbo, getting locked in. Hide your crit builds. They cannot handle the pure mass of the Turtle Man. I like this for Djungelskogs. It's different, not what we expected, but it does beg the question now, if you're Warriors of Albion, do you lock down the Thoth? Is Thoth Hachiman what you want to run? It's a lot of range, a lot of safety. You need a strong front line, but the pick has been so effective, it's hard to believe it's not a possibility.
I'm so caught up in whatever the heck you said when you were introducing Kuzumbo. It went right over my head.
Please don't act surprised at me just losing it at this point.
I'm not surprised at it. I could not follow it all. But I mean, the Thoth Hachiman, it's a pretty good backline. More than that, it's a really safe backline. You know those two are going to do their damage. You know they theoretically have enough movement to stay out of range of this Bologna and the Kuzumbo. With that being said, I do not like the Kuzumbo lock-in this high. I think Kuzumbo is a pretty underrated god, especially some of the people I've seen play Kuzumbo have just been absolutely insane, has an incredibly high ceiling. I don't think Kuzenbo was in any danger of being picked or banned anytime before the 10th pick of the game. The Susano, though, I do like. This has been banned out in both of the first 2 games. You want to get Crimson on something else. If you can't have the Camazotz, might as well have another annoying god. Susano certainly fits that bill.
Not to mention how good Susano is into this composition from Warriors of Albion. It can keep up with the Hachiman, keep up with the Thoth, and make both of their lives miserable while doing just insane damage, and you've got your objective secure locked down early. Because one thing we've been talking about the entirety of the set has been objective secure for the mid laners, and I still expect, of course, to see strong objective secure. We've had Vulcans, we've had Thoths, we've had Cuckoos, there's lots of options. But Susano, being able to offer that, I have always felt like it goes underrated. And especially against a Thoth, who Susano can keep bursted down, could be a very high value sneaky pickup here for the Djungelskogs. They're also going to hover an Ishtar Fisher, and Ishtar into Hachiman is a matchup that is very well documented and,
Ishtar.
at least from the eye test, tends to go pretty well for the Ishtar when played correctly.
And I gotta say, the combo of this Ishtar with this Susano, I love in the late game, because these are 2 backliners on the side of the Warriors of Albion that are kind of known for their ability to get away, get out of danger. You have the teleport from Susano, you have Ishtar's ultimate, which has an incredibly big lane. I don't know if Thoth is going to be able to close that distance in his boosted dash. So theoretically, these are 2 characters that are going to shut down this backline really, really hard and make escape pretty much near impossible if they're able to time their abilities right. I love this combo. I think this still hinges a lot on this mid pick. This is the very, through the first 4 picks, kind of all-in bruiser style, and one of the mids that I'd associate with that, the Tiamat, is taken off the board. Tiamat with this comp would have gone incredible. I think that's a really smart ban by the Warriors of Albion.
Warriors of Albion are just
I
going
will be
through with the greatest hit
standing no
selection
barrier
of
to
characters
our
from the
success.
set. The Hachiman who's banned, the Thoth who's been contested, the Chalk from game 1, the Ganesh from game 1, and then we throw in a Pele
Whoa.
and we ruin my point. You know what? I'm sorry, Warriors of Albion. I won't talk anymore. My bad.
Master's Curse, it's still real in game number 3. You know, can never talk too much without being contradicted a little bit. And the Pele ban is, I don't think it's bad. I definitely don't think it's normal, but when you look back at game 1, the dive that worked so well, the Chalk and the Thanatos, Pele does not have the same pressure that Thanatos brings. Pele can absolutely be a really, really massive god deal. It does a lot of damage when they have their build right, but just pure get in, get out, it's not going to be as easy in Thanatos. And I love this mid pick. That is one of my favorite gods in the game. Finally see the Raijin. Time to play those drums, baby.
He's awake. there is any worry. he's awake. You, Raijin woke
I've been
you up.
awake this whole time.
All right.
I've been awake
This
this entire set. I mean,
one day,
you literally
one
said...
day, we'll go over the concept of yes and.
No, you literally said to wake up in game number 2 in the picks and ban phase, and I've been awake since then.
I was talking to the viewer. I said, "Wake up, babe." I don't call you babe. I call you honey.
You do?
Okay.
You know
The
I'm afraid of
Pele
bees. How
does
could you
bring a
call me
lot
that?
as well, Fisher, because one thing that I feel like the Pele brings is great dive onto the Ishtar, and honestly, a good response to Susano. When Susano dives on you, you can get a lot of that displacement, that control, the knock up as well. Volcanic Lightning, very safe to get away from the Kuzenbo if need be. A lot of good options in the Pele. My worry is if Warriors of Albion can't break through the Kuzenbo to do their damage, it's going to be a very difficult game. You do have the Ganesh who will help, and you have the Chalk, but peel-wise, CC-wise, for my money, they're lacking a bit.
They are, and in that game number 1, obviously, if you remember back to it, we didn't see the Ganesh initiate a whole ton. It was really the Chalk hitting the ults and the Thanatos coming flying in out of nowhere. Like you said, you do not have that level of CC, and you look at the other side, there is about more CC in that team comp than we saw throughout the first 2 games on either team. It's going to be really difficult to not only break through the Kuzenbo, but get to the Bellona, who has a nice leap away, get to the Susano, who can knock you up, Ishtar can stun you, Raijin can fear you. It is going to be so difficult for this team to find good initiation and stay with it, because at every turn, I think the Djungelskogs just kind of outnumber them when it comes to that department.
Well, we'll see how much they are outnumbered and how much it will actually matter. We'll see the team fights, we'll see the blood, more base races, more quadras, lots of questions, answers on the horizon. Let's head into game number 3 between Djungelskogs and Warriors of Albion. My name's Anthony Malm with Kingfisher by my side, for better or for worse, with Cat on production
Okay.
doing so wonderfully tonight. Fisher, Blinks Online for the junglers. I've been looking for the entirety of this set. Horrific for Bubble, Sprint for Cjax. I'm excited. This game 3 has the makings of a classic here in the Delphi division between these two powerhouse teams. I'll say that comfortably. They've been great matches for each other throughout game 1 and game number 2.
They have been only week 3 too, so already the fact that both these teams can kind of go this distance, show this level of team chemistry, I think is impressive no matter what way you look at it, regardless who the winner is in this game 3. Gotta say, if they want to be the winner, Warriors of Albion have to have their work cut out for them. We've already talked a lot about that Djungelskogs lineup and what this team comp is going to be able to do in terms of aggression, in terms of CC. So Warriors of Albion are going to have a tight early game if they want to translate that into the late game.
Looking at lanes, we've done that each game. Only feels right to do it again for game number 3.
True.
Which lane do you think, and I'll mix it up a bit, the most pressure comes from, and that actually gets the junglers' attention? Because both jungles have been, we'll say, wary of ganking too early so far.
I feel like if it was anybody other than this Hachiman, I would say the duo lane, but it's hard for me to imagine Crimson ganking a whole ton here when the Hachiman is able to just pretty easily ride out danger. I mean, true, you can stick with them to the Susano, and Curcio, like you said, is a pretty good matchup there, but especially in this mid lane, these are two mid laners that can do a lot of damage from a long ways away. If they get ahead, they're very difficult for your dive to deal with. So I think I'd like to see both these junglers pay a lot more attention to the mid lane. I don't know if it'll happen, but I think that's where they'd find the most value in these matchups.
There is value to be found if you can make the ganks work for farm as well. That's one thing both of these teams have been needing to adapt to as games have gone on, is making the most out of ganks not working for a kill and pivoting and working improv, yes, and going for buffs. Big fight in mid lane. Pele diving in deep, looking for that Sasano. Might have overcommitted though, because another response comes back onto Pele. Crimson looking for, gets stunned out, gets the pull, however, on the Cyber. There's the Raijin. Crimson will get the last hit for the first blood for Djungelskogs.
Seeing the Raijin and the jungles in mid, I gotta say, loving the start to this game so far. Djungelskogs able to find that first blood, and already in the duo lane, that Kuzenbo is going to be a lot to deal with here. But towards Dirty Bubble, I'd look for that silence to have some huge effects onto Cjax, something we didn't talk about throughout that picks and ban phase, but something definitely going to be in play here. That Ganesh, I think this entire game is literally just going to try to mirror Cjax, because that Kuzenbo won't be able to do too much when Ganesh is that close with the silence, with the Dharmic Pillars, able to even knock up that Kuzenbo sometimes would be an interesting interaction between both of those little dashes. But this Ganesh is going to have to really be on point to make sure that Kuzenbo doesn't run unchecked. And Cjax has been having a really nice few games as support, absolutely capable of doing that on this pick.
Yeah, Bubble and Cjax both have looked pretty clean on support so far. You know, and it goes back to the back and forth we discussed. Nobody has looked bad. Everyone's performed really well. And that's one of the things that's made these previous 2 games feel so close. It really feels like the difference maker will come down to not just individual mechanics being able to shine, but who's making the best decisions and the best play calls, because that has been the one thing where both teams, for their own part, have made some pretty decent mistakes.
It has been, and it's always kind of less about the mistake the team makes and more about how the other team capitalizes on. I feel like we've seen that better in the late game than anywhere else, because throughout these early games, I think the biggest gold lead we've seen, like pre-30 minutes, was 6K at one point, and even so, that fell pretty sharply towards the end of that game. It really wasn't as big of a lead as it kind of seemed to be, so the play calls have to be massive here. Both these teams have not just gods on them, but players on them that can make big differences. Uh-oh, rough break there for Polymorphs being mezzed out of the Hachiman dash. No, that one has to hurt. No stun now. Tragic, but still able to contest here in the duo lane.
I love the fighting we're seeing, the not being afraid to take the trades here in poke, but keeping yourselves healthy is my favorite thing. It's a newer thing between both sides. Dark Pillars comes out just to help secure lane pressure for Warriors of Albion. It will work out for the most part to help them get that neutral farm locked down, which honestly, good call from there from Bubble. Every bit of that neutral farm will matter. The gold leads have been massively close so far in these games, and as you can see, the first blood bounty of 500 gold has already swung back to Warriors of Albion.
I'm really surprised we haven't seen a lot more kind of jungle aggression. And I have to say that, right as Cyber heads to the left side of the map, might just be looking for that neutral farm, but they've both been hesitant to gank this duo lane. We haven't seen that early solo lane gank like we did last time. As I say that though, Cyber sticking around behind the wall. Both ults up though from Djungelskogs might make this one a difficult gank.
And Bubbles waddling over, not Bubbles, C-Jax, excuse me, on that Kuzenbo, just waddling on over. Kuzenbo's just the dumbest character, man. I'm gonna say it. I'm sorry. Character walks like a puffin. Alright, fight breaking out by the neutral farm. Bubble getting knocked around. C-Jax with the dash into the wall. Polymorphs could be in trouble. Cyber here to try to take some of that pressure away, and does just that. Brings down Insurcio. Can you keep Bubble alive? The Kappa doing work. Bubble does survive. Now the body blocks the Dark Pillars. Get out of there, Bubble! There's the dash! It's good, but the Kappa brings us down! That's Kappa on Elephant Violence. I don't even care about Cyber getting the kill. The elephant wasn't bothering nobody. He can't even get a kill. He's a pacifist, and the Kappa ran him down in cold blood. It's 2-2.
That whole exchange makes Kuzenbo an even funnier character than he was when you started talking about him. And ooh, look at that tech. I've never seen that before.
Oh, the Eagles rally into the bludgeon. He's dead. WK Willie. Oh man, Ice Seal Buffs doesn't know. Pepe laugh. What a turnaround there for WK Willie.
Forget about the tech on the Comet. Look at the tech from WK Willie. One auto away from dying. Times Eagles rally perfectly. And that's a rough one for Ice Steel Buffs. I mean, literally a millisecond in timing either way may mean that's the kill there for the Chalk. Luckily, no first blood bounty. And without the tower teleport, though, can take a little bit longer getting back to the lane. So does Willie, though, after backing, didn't have the teleport either. But I want to draw more attention to that mid-Comet. I've never seen that. The Thoth, through that glyph, double autos the Comet. That's pretty cool.
Comet tech.
Comet tech.
Use it in your casuals. And thank Bops Inter.
Exactly. Thanks, Bob Inter. And no inting this game, though. Just educating us a little bit on how to deal with the comic.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say that earlier. Bops is not dying enough to have Inter in their name. I haven't been able to make a comment on it, and it's kind of upset me a little bit, if I'm being honest.
I also don't know which one we're supposed to call them. I've been flipping between Bops and Inter. I'm going to have to stay with Bops now, though. Inter really just doesn't do it justice.
Yeah.
So if you hear us calling them that, just know something catastrophic has happened.
Yeah, if I say Inter, my feelings were hurt somehow.
True. I mean, I think the only thing a mid laner's done to hurt my feelings has been putting the starter in that second spot and start building their tier 1 in the first. I can't explain it. It frustrates me every time.
That Kappa missed. Ha!
Oh no.
Revenge of the bubble.
Revenge of the bubble. Oh!
I didn't even see it. I'm not even gonna lie. I missed it. That's tough. That's a kill for Crimson and Ice Steel Buffs. That's a second death for the Chalk. I'll start paying attention now, I promise. You know, I looked down to grab my water, and on the next handoff, I was gonna take a sip. And I got rolled for it, so. There's your behind the scenes, and I'm embarrassed. 8 minutes now, 2-4, gold lane favoring Warriors of Albion. This dual lane still has the supports there, not interested in leaving quite yet.
I'm just glad we finally saw the solo gank. Hadn't seen it through the whole early game. I think that was probably a staple of Cyber's. Is he? I mean, I guess a little bit. Doesn't get the red buff. Wait, he did get the red buff?
Oh, how did he get that?
I don't... Oh, he used the ult. Ult must have done it. Dang, okay. Talk about more techs. Did you know you can Thoth ult to secure your own red buff?
Well, gee, I did know that one at least. But Bob's using it is impressive nonetheless. Especially while getting Regionals and dealing with the pressure at the Susano there. To be able to still get your own buff like that, pretty massive play. It also makes the commitment that came out from Reaper and Crimson less worth.
It does. Now, both these solo laners dueling quite a bit, and Bologna now, we talked a lot about the solo lane builds. I feel like in game 1, maybe a little bit with game 2, but this Bologna build is going to be way different, building into what I'd assume is a Berserker Shield, already has a Phalanx online, has the Warrior's Axe, and we've seen WQ Willie take a lot of pretty defense-heavy builds so far. This one has to be all attack. I really want to see this Bologna get very aggressive in this game. Looking across a map, even across a gold difference, there is pretty much nothing happening outside of a few skirmishes.
Well, yeah, why do you think I got distracted talking about the mini Kappa and missed the red buff?
Because the mini Kappa is just objectively one of the coolest parts of Smite.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish we had a crowd, because the totem just went down, it was a fight, and Hachiman in trouble, dashing in, going to be past the Kuzenbo in the dual lane. Could be dead here, potentially. Gets the mounted archery off, however, and is able to escape away from Insurcio.
That'd be awesome if we had crowds at just normal season games. This would be one of their favorite. Already the totem, fighting over the totem of skulls. We got.
Can you imagine the comet cheers?
The comet cheers are nuts. Everybody loves the comets.
Insurcio down 2 levels here on polymorphs on that Ishtar to the Hachiman, which is not a great spot to be in as the Ishtar, especially when you're against the Aussie. It's going to feel very oppressive if you try to make the fight. So it's about a level and a half. Blades of Retribution comes out. Polymorph's able to avoid it. The Jolt is good. The Beads is late. But no Mez going to catch Polymorphs there. So he's alive, but stepping up too far. Crimson's here. Blink, pull, dead. Yeah, that's why you can't step up. Crimson makes short work of Polymorphs there in the duo lane.
Doesn't even have to use the ult. I had a really nice prioritization there from Crimson using the blink over the ult. Susano ult, so valuable, so anytime you're able to save that can be really good. And one of the few things that's kind of troublesome with Ishtar when you initiate, like we saw in Cercio there, using that dash to kind of pin the Hachiman down, you just backflip away. You immediately put yourself out of range if you don't have your 1-up. Luckily, though, Susano there to kind of close the difference won't matter too much. Ganesh, I'd love to see Dharmic Pillars for the steal. Oh.
He got it! That's revenge for the Kappa right there from Dirty Bubble.
I always love seeing support stealing buffs. I hate it when I'm the ADC getting it stolen. I always love to see it. Shotgun to just use the old precautionary here. Crimson's here still has a tornado. He's gonna have to use it.
Rally into the Typhoon. There's a knockup. That might be a dead shock, but they actually don't want to tank the tower. Horizon's here as well, so they're probably just buying time. Now they go in. Buffs will head to the lane. Will teleport back into the waiting arms of WQ Willie, who will be able to get away. Doesn't need any help there from the rest of the team. Gold Fury being started up, down to half health. Cyber looking to keep Insurcio back. Gold Fury down low. Can they secure it? Yes, Warriors of Albion can, but they do lose Cyber, who played all the defense there during that Gold Fury.
And that's going to keep the gold just about even. A Gold Fury for 2 deaths. I guess kind of 1 death. Ice Steel buffs was not related in any way to that, but that means Djungelskogs won't get too much off of those 2 kills, so a good move there from Warriors of Albion. I got really scared they were just going to leave the chalk in the tower there. I was ready to call them out for it, but they don't. Dirty Bubble now dropping low. Has to use the Dharmic Pillars to disengage, and Inter gonna use the bees. Threat of Dharmic Pillars not quite enough to drive off the Djungelskogs.
Yeah, the beads was probably safe there. Could have been feared and taunted a bit too much. Could have given time for Crimson to pick up a kill. Big thing there for Djungelskogs is it gets them the Stygian Beacon. About a 400 gold lead currently for Djungelskogs. Coming up in 13 minutes. They're also leading in kills, 7-2.
And I think Warriors of Albion should be very grateful that the gold lead isn't more than it is. We already talked about in the picks and bans about just how oppressive this Djungelskogs roster is going to be if they're able to get a lead. And despite all those kills, they really haven't. I mean, looking at the XP either, there's a bit of a difference in the jungle.
Ooh, Polymorphs is almost dead.
Oh.
Almost got caught out there, but had the get out of bubble free card of the elephant. In Cercio so far, I gotta say, and I know I've said multiple times, Fisher, that the Aussie should have given the Hachiman the ability to box a lot more. In Cercio, in all 3 of these games, has been completely unfazed by the Aussie and has just fought through it with the Devos and autos and good usage of abilities. So I ate my words on that one to the benefit of Djungelskogs and Insurcio, who's had a great set and continues so far, but this time Polymorph's able to get away.
Yeah, outside of that first game where they had a little bit of deaths on that honor before getting to the late game, has been doing really well. And I mean, literally 2 minutes ago, there was a level 12 Hachimon and a level 10 Ishtar. We've talked a lot about the farming in this game, but making up 4 levels to 1, still about half a level lead, is huge. Reaper didn't see everybody else. That's ambitious.
He didn't know. Happy laugh. Part 2. Reaper just
The Pepe
overcommitting
laugh.
there onto Warriors of Albion. Crimson will hang out and wait for the Pyromancer. It's down to half health. Crimson does have ultimate, but gets caught out and has to use it to maybe kill Cyber. Gets the jet stream off. Should be, and then Pele, but gets caught out against the wall and can't find the kill. The beads just to survive, but it did stop the Pyro. So Crimson will take what they can get there and being able to get away and not get the kill. Pyro stopped.
Both those junglers extremely lucky to be living. Really good job there from Crimson, though, stopping that Pyro. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. They're both waiting it out. Who does it go to?
C-Jack's ulted for it.
The tech.
Absolute goat behavior. Look who got it. C-Jack's got it. I can see it
C-Jax,
floating
yeah.
in very low pixels back there.
That's why I was saying that the techs, the Kuzenbo ult to secure the scepter. Something that's very, very funny to me. But, you know, it works. So why question it when it works?
I love that. Xerxio looking to get some poke onto Polymorphs, I pointed out, because I wouldn't be surprised to see another couple 1v1s between these two while they are even before we get into that later game. Especially with ultimates being down. But not going to be this time. I wouldn't be surprised anymore. They've been so aggressive the majority of this time.
It's still interesting. Oh, Reaper finally gets into. Nobody around to shut the mid laner down that time. Raijin should get away alive as well. Both beads, full health. Gotta think Inter was just low. There's no way the Thoth wouldn't put some damage onto the Raijin there. And kind of like last time, even looking back at Polymorphs, upgrades that Executioner really, really early on. I guess a lifesteal there from Insurgio's gotta be doing a lot of unseen work to build it that early. Cyber able to get away before Reaper gets any damage onto the mid laner. Looks like Djungelskogs might be looking to take this Oni Fury, or are they looking for kill onto the Hachimon first? Susanna's close, and Hachi just dash in.
Polymorphs was low from fighting with Insurcio, and in the duo lane, going to be trouble for the Hachimon. Crimson will find the kill onto Polymorphs in the duo lane. Now they're going to head over towards that Oni Fury on the left-hand side of the map.
Should be able to get it too. It looks like they
they're
might
doing
have
for
a
the
little bit of
tower instead.
miscommunication. Yeah. I mean, the Ganesh is close, and Dharmic Pillars is already a little bit of a tough ability to secure against. I guess with the threat of Thoth close, they don't want it. They're teleporting? Oh, this is a weird split.
So they're going to get the Pyromancer. Oni Fury now being started. And Djungelskogs are set up okay for, but Thoth is lurking over. A lot of ultimates getting dumped onto Dirty Bubble, committing already. At bot time, there's the Taiko drums as well. They're doing all of this for the Ganesh, but look at the damage there coming out from Bop's Enter. Now dashes in looking for the kill, gonna find one, gets knocked up by the Typhoon, can't find the second one, has to go back to the safety of Dirty Bubble, but safety no more, brought down by Crimson, who looks for another, but the Scourge will do it from W. Key Willie.
But now they're not going to be able to get the Oni Fury. Both their backliners are, only one of them, and Curcio died. So Reaper going to have to go all the way back to base. No opening now, and Warriors of Albion, it was a little bit of an odd fight, but they definitely win that one. They lose 2 members, but they get the Pyro. They stop the Oni Fury. You got to imagine they're happy about that, even if they still are. 500 gold down, and that's crazy. Only 500 gold in an 18-minute game, and I don't know if it's gotten bigger than that.
This whole game feels out of character for what we've seen from these two teams so far. Everything has been so surgical, clean in game 1 and game 2, and this game is just full chaos, spaghetti against the wall behavior, seeing what sticks, what doesn't. It doesn't feel normal for either team, but it's certainly benefiting Djungelskogs so far, and a lot of that feels like Warriors of Albion have not been able to get any cohesive fights going together.
I'm going to start using that spaghetti line. I really liked that one. You couldn't hear me, but
you
laughing,
never threw
laughing behind my
spaghetti
hand there.
against. Hang on, Cyber might die.
No.
Here.
I
Willie going
have.
with Eagle's route.
That's why I like it.
There's the shield for the slow, but Cyber will have the movement speed. But is it enough movement speed? With Crimson there, the volcanic lightning will ensure yes.
Shock should cut it off. Oh,
Crimson does have blink though, a blink to cut off a potential blink, and Crimson says, "All right, my bad. We'll go the other way."
need to time it a little bit earlier that if they wanted to get it. And I want to preface, yes, I have thrown spaghetti at the wall. I just was not expecting that.
There. Dirty Bubble in trouble again. A big commit onto the elephant yet again. Oh, what's that? I'm unsure what happened there.
I think we had to have skipped a little bit of the
I think
game.
we did as
Otherwise,
well.
that was about
we
the
skip
biggest
forward?
lag spike in history. I don't know.
Okay, solo lane,
no,
Cyber
no,
getting
no, we
chased
didn't.
down,
We went
down
backwards.
to half health. So we're back to where the Bologna was chasing. Cyber will get away.
Gives us
Hey, I
second
have a
look.
crazy call here. Chalk's gonna blink.
Oh,
See, I'm a genius!
Oh!
But now we go back to duo, and now you're gonna see everybody ult for the elephant in about 5 seconds. You heard it here first.
I made some crazy predictions. I don't know about this one though. It's like you can see into the future.
It's almost like I can. And here it is, all the ultimates for the elephant. But watch out, because it's buying time. History repeats itself. Thoth on the way, Crimson here,
Typhoon up.
Dirty Bubble, who's just wasting time, brings them back to the Thoth. Mounted Archery could be used soon, but everything's gonna get called off here. Bubble couldn't last long enough to help buy time for the Skogs to fall back. Instead, they go to Oni Fury, and it's a dangerous one to pull because Final Judgment is still online for that Thoth. Oni Fury down to a quarter. Chalk walking in, they'll let it go. An awkward fight so far for both teams. Taiko Drums dropped early, not going to find a home on anybody, but he'll get to float around and look pretty for a moment.
Djungelskogs and drop it right and trying to get some damage. Crimson opens it up onto Polymorph. Djungelskogs might back up here. The Thoth still with that ultimate. It's still going to be risky to pull the Oni Fury. They're going to try it again though.
Crimson now onto Ice Steel buffs, just trying to break through to get back to that Oni Fury to help output DPS onto it. Final Judgment still being held by Thoth, looking to charge it up in front of the Bologna. Will shoot it off and get the steal! Bops Inter didn't give a damn about that Bologna and was still able to steal away the Fury, but now can you get away? Dirty Bubble gonna help Cyber do just that, while Ice Steel buffs goes for the chase deep into the back line of Djungelskogs. Ice Steel buffs in the 1v2 over deep in by that chest buff, green buff area, and now a 1v3, but can't find it. Will go down. Reaper with the credit.
They're going to get the Oni Fury, and I think if the Chalk didn't try to push out that hard, would have been a huge win for the Warriors of Albion. I think it arguably still is. They're not going to have to deal with those tower pushes. They have all their tier 2s exposed, so Djungelskogs would have been able to push down with it, but 3 kills means that the gold lead, you guessed it, stays about even. Uh-oh, who gets it? Who gets it? Willie does. Dang. Dude, the Ganesh cannot catch a break with those
Yeah,
scepters.
it's been a tough game for Bubble. Oh! Use the ricochet on that Kappa?
You know, for everything going on in this game, I am loving watching these supports play this one.
I mean, that Kappa had NFL Combine type of speed on it.
It was a pretty good NFL Combine. New record.
Gets C-Jax. Maybe C-Jax can replace Russell Wilson. Thoughts?
True. He might be able to. I know Broncos country.
I just
Probably not happy
imagine
with that last season.
Kuzenbo saying Broncos country once.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
boy.
How does Kuzenbo not have a football skin yet? This is crazy.
That's true. He even does the an actual stiff arm move.
Pretty
See,
much.
now you're cooking. Ice Steel buffs goes into the Pyro, but no fight to follow. Djungelskogs are nearby. Left side could be trouble as well. Can have 2 fights break out, but the one on the left will be deadly for Cyber. Crimson able to find it. Polymorphs returns it, finds Insercio right away. So a trade out there. Mid lane, the fight never actually did turn into anything. Just a lot of poke being thrown back and forth, but everyone's so tanky, didn't matter anyway.
Both teams trying to disengage now a little bit, and a pair dead each means neither of these teams going to have a huge opening in terms of player advantage. Beacon, though, going to go pretty soundly to the Djungelskogs, and with all those tier 2s exposed, going to get a nice bit of damage onto them. Oh, no. Is the Beacon not up yet? Did I just get trolled? What were they standing there for?
It's one of those games, Fisher. It's one of those games. Dirty Bubble gets body blocked between 3, but will dash back to safety. Has Polymorphs, who is chunking, does have that Rage online, same with Ornate Arrow. Well, Djungelskogs and Insercio once again going that penetration build. Kinkais is online for Bologna. Lots of interesting power spikes online, Fisher, but I can't help but feel like Polymorphs is lagging a bit behind in damage output potentially.
Has been a little bit, especially looking at those player charts. I think the Ishtar has gotten a lot more into these fights, and Djungelskogs will now take the beacon, and with all the tier 2 towers exposed, should be getting a nice chunk of damage.
I know, if
Did
only
I
we
get it
had
right
our
this time?
divine intervention of our time travel, as we had earlier, then you could have predicted it even more correctly.
That would have been crazy. I mean, yeah, you know, that would have been would have been cool. I do like calling stuff. Pyromancer, though, gonna go to the Djungelskogs. I did not see the map, otherwise I feel like I could have called that one too.
I think we're both falling apart. Been a long series.
Only a little.
Both games, 40 minutes. A lot of action, a lot of back and forth, a lot of chaos. 23 minutes in to this one, coming up on 24. 6-16, Djungelskogs with a massive kill lead, the biggest that we've seen so far in this set. But the gold lead, excuse me, not nearly as much. And actually one of the smaller ones we've seen at this point in one of these games. For where to look damage-wise, Fisher, it's kind of a toss-up.
And it's really been these solo laners. They've been pretty involved throughout all the games, but right now on the charts, they're both sitting pretty high up. And I love that you mentioned it's been back and forth the whole time, because normally in these best of threes, there's at least one game where it's kind of really one-sided who it goes to, and then somebody responds. It has been back and forth through all 3 games, even throughout the win phases. It looks like the other team could have taken it both times. Tough to tell who gets the upper edge here, and with only an 800 gold lead, it's probably the biggest we've had this game. But looking at those kill totals, you have to imagine sooner or later the golden XP won't matter, and the fact that the Djungelskogs have been winning these fights is really going to come back to bite the Warriors of Albion.
It all kind of goes back to Crimson sitting 7-0, somebody we were talking about early, who is able to not just use the ultimate, but just use the outpour of damage to make everyone have to respect the Susano's placements. That keeps the Hachiman further away. That slows down what Bop's Inter is able to do. It all goes back to that Susano. And Cyber, as we've seen, has had a really hard time being able to do anything to Susano because there's so much to deal with. You break through to Susano, and you got a Bellona and a Kuzenbo in your face. Polymorphs there had a Bellona. Bo was able to escape from it, at least for the moment, and crit out the Nene Kappa there. No interest in dealing with the pesky little guy.
Unfortunate. The fall of Kuzenbo begins now, I guess, and yet again, we're going to see Incursio entirely ignore this crit path. So we'll see how that works out for them in the long run. Did work out in game number 2, trying to make that happen again. And it's always interesting to watch ADCs build into different paths, because they're both going to do entirely different things when they're getting dove, when they're going for objectives. And right now, Djungelskogs looking to push out. I'm not sure if they're trying to gain space for a Fire Giant or if they're looking for a tier 2. They're not going to see this Ganesh backing. But you got to think, the sooner they try to take this Fire Giant, the better. They have maybe a temporary advantage in the jungle. Hard to imagine it stays too long, though. Look at those wards.
I know, finally,
Gotta
right?
love the wards.
We've been asking for it for 3 games. I mean, there was a lot in game 1, but they were all on the left side.
There were.
Djungelskogs pushing up, could look to enter into the fight at any moment, but are taking their time. Crimson is in the soul lane, does have a clean flank. There's no wards deep towards that lane to keep an eye on Crimson. Instead, Warriors of Albion actually just walk over to the right to get a better view. Still buffs, goes in, instantly pushed away. Silence on to Seajax. Lots of poke behind the Kuzenbo and the Watery Grave. Not going to do a lot so far. Crimson did dive in. Looks like Typhoon already used, but did not find a lot. Instead, Cyber's the one finding some kills and brings down that Kuzenbo. But nobody on Warriors of Albion is healthy, especially not Cyber. Already dead from WQ Willie. Looking for another. Going to find Steal buffs for the double kill. Now, can the Bellona get away? Can you turn and get more? Polymorph says no, gets a shutdown kill. Now Crimson onto the Hachiman, can't find the kill, but has Reaper for backup, and Reaper sends Polymorphs to a Graycation. Might not join him yet, has alternate timeline. Crimson goes in, runs in the dirty bubble. They turn onto the Elephant, and he will go down. Double kill for Reaper. Bop's able to find Crimson through the wall. Now it's a Mage 1v1 to decide if there's a deicide for Warriors of Albion. Triple kill for Reaper. Why not? He gets it. Deicide. Everyone dies for Warriors of Albion.
A laugh well-deserved there from the Djungelskogs and from Reaper. A little bit of an, I think, interesting fight is the best way to put it. A little bit back and forth from both teams, but now with the Djungelskogs coming out on top, Cyber and Steal buffs are both going to be up, so if they're trying to go for a Fire Giant here, they probably have the damage from Incursio and Reaper, but with only Seajax up, that'd be a tough one. And given that last fight, that Kuzumbo died really fast. If I'm Djungelskogs, I definitely want Seajax to get some of that defense up. That heroism only gives him health, still gets eaten through just as quickly. With that gold per 5 though, Seajax hopefully should be a lot more tanky for that next fight.
Did die really fast, and a lot of it was just kind of being caught out, trying to do a bit too much. And the start of the fight, and a Dark Pillars obviously making it tougher to maneuver on that Kuzumbo, and the silence taking away the dash, just kind of a rough go of things there. And one of the first times we've really seen the Kuzumbo get caught out like that up to this point.
It has been always kind of a danger when you're playing Kuzumbo, of course, to get too aggressive, to go into enemy situations that you're really not ready for. But most of the times this game, kind of haven't seen that textbook Kuzumbo just ignoring what the other team could do and just focusing on displacing people. Seajax has been playing reserve very, very well so far. So for Djungelskogs, really opened up a lot for him. And they still have the aggressive position on this Fire Giant. They're sending some members to clear out minions in other parts of the map. And for Warriors of Albion, it's a little bit kind of a tough thing to read, because the further you go in this game, the better Djungelskogs are going to get. They need to find an opening soon if they really want to take control. Crimson gets away, and Willie indeed.
Willie's in very deep, but not taking a lot of damage, so maybe this sets up for Djungelskogs in a way they can actually benefit from. One thing that I wouldn't be surprised to see is Djungelskogs look for a quick wipe. If they can get another deicide but keep members alive, I think they're trying to avoid a longer, more drawn-out game, because, I mean, right now, you're working with a Pele, a Hachiman, and a Thoth who just aren't doing too much damage. Matter of fact, the Thoth might just die. Alternate timeline gonna get procced, gives him time to dash away after the Typhoon did hit. Cyber forced away into Volcanic Lightning as well. Final Judgment gonna hit Reaper but not find the kill. Now Bops has to dash away, play it safe. Crimson readjusts, goes back in behind the Watery Grave coming out from Seajax, has W key with him as well. Djungelskogs, though, back up, take their time, hit the brakes, not ready to overcommit quite yet.
And they lose a fight, but that was played really well by Warriors of Albion, not letting anybody die. You lose an alternate timeline and an Aegis, and really that's it. Djungelskogs are marching towards this Fire Giant, but everybody's back to full health on the side of Albion except for Dirty Bubble. I mean, the Raijin is coming back, so it'll be more of an even fight, but even though you get that tier 2 tower, you really didn't do a whole ton on the side of the Djungelskogs. They don't have as big of an opening as they might think they do, and there goes Ganesh, shut down by the
Ice still buffs, going aggressive. Storm Call comes out. Cyber going in deep, gonna try to make use of that Volcanic Lightning. It comes up soon, uses it instantly, looks for the kill onto Insercio, but cannot find it. Just gets turned on and dumped on. Steel buffs, able to find the credit for the kill into Insercio regardless. It was a 1-for-1 trade so far. Warriors of Albion will group up themselves and step back towards the Fire Giant. Djungelskogs licking their wounds, have a full health Sasano on the way, who also backed.
And that's a huge trade if you're Cyber. You'll take that one every time with Insercio down. Djungelskogs likely not going to be able to step up to that Fire Giant, not going to be able to make anything happen. Really, really nice trade there from the Pele. And now we're past the 30-minute mark into this game. I think this is the 3rd straight game we have not seen a normal Fire Giant. It's only been enhanced ones. And you got to think for both these teams, with as back and forth as these fights are doing, I'm not convinced the team that gets this enhanced Fire Giant is going to live long enough to really make anything work out of it. Even though it's 22-10, Warriors of Albion have been reliably getting 1 or 2 members out of every one of these team fights. So even if they lose at EFG, that's going to be big if they're able to do that. Pyromancer should fall to Djungelskogs. I think if they try to steal this away, Warriors of Albion are just kidding themselves a little bit. No need to put anything like a Thought Bolt on it. It should be an easy pyro for the Skogs.
Hachiman does have Deathbringer online. Notable damage increase there will be coming out. Pyromancer started up. 75% still let go by Skogs. Crimson gonna look for the pull on the Polymorphs, does force Beach. Aegis goes back in. Typhoon pops him. Polymorphs down. Crimson looking for more. Has backup. Djungelskogs going aggressive. I still buffs, trying to get away, trying to keep Bops safe. Crimson with the double kill brings down Cyber. Dirty Bubble just retreating. W key Willie doing just that, breaking that W key, breaking down Bops Inter. That's 3 dead for Warriors of Albion. The Djungelskogs are grouping up in the mid lane and pushing on.
Who needs an enhanced Fire Giant when you got the man advantage? It's a 5-on-2, no damage left alive for the Warriors of Albion. 30 seconds left to stall. You got to think Djungelskogs is getting ready to end this game and end it soon.
Ice Steel buffs trying to waste time, teleports back in, but they're not taking the bait. They're stepping in, looking to end the game. Dirty Bubble puts up a defense, goes low. Ice Steel buffs can try too. It's all for naught. The Djungelskogs decide to call game at 33 minutes, and they... Djungelskogs able to take it. They just get one good team fight too many, Fisher, for Warriors of Albion to deal with, and they instantly run it down mid, just like we were kind of talking about. It just didn't feel like it was going to be a full fire giant that ended this game. It was going to be some other circumstance, and that ended up being the exact case. Djungelskogs get this one.
Unfortunately, there for Warriors of Albion, the thing they've been doing great that entire game, no matter what objective the Djungelskogs were taking, no matter what fights they were winning, they were getting people down, they were putting people in the grave, and really allowing them to kind of extend that game timer. Won't happen here. 25 to 10, and the kills really tell the story. I think we identified in the early game just how aggressive this Djungelskogs roster was going to be, the lack of CC, lack of a clear initiation from Warriors of Albion. It just does it. It's definitely not draft if they put up a lot of fight, but in the end, it's a very, very unforgiving team comp that just not able to get it done.
Just a bit too much, ultimately. The Susano definitely feels like it was a pick that paid off. And W Key Willie was able to do a lot of W keying at the perfect times. Reaper stayed consistent the whole game. And Insercio, who had one of their quieter games at the set, Fisher, it still mattered so much, the amount of damage that was able to be done consistently and able to keep that Hachiman in check. And for Warriors of Albion, not once did they look bad in my mind. It just feels like by game 3, a lot of the steam kind of left the engine.
It had to, and especially given how long those first two games were. It's not like we got a 25 or 30-minute game and it was a short best of three. It was a long running, long fought best of three. I mean, just now coming up on 3 hours in total. Really, really long winded. And like you said, from either team, nobody did bad for honestly probably one of the first times in a while in Smite. There's normally at least one player that you can tell struggles a bit or is not able to do quite enough to keep it going. No matter the stat line on both teams, everybody from that Warriors of Albion team was able to get their damage off. They were where they needed to be when they had to be. It was a really well fought game from both of these sides.
It was indeed, Fisher, but a long night of Smite does actually officially come to an end. Just a few reminders before we head out tonight here on OSL. Make sure you get yourself signed up for the Joust tournament coming up this Saturday. The check-ins start at 4:50. The tournament itself starts at 5. Also going on is the tournament week 4 coming up here on OSL. So make sure you're following the Twitch and all that good stuff, and you're in the Discord for both future tournaments and for all the news, weekly recaps, and all that good stuff. Any final words from you tonight, Fisher?
Not too much, just great game to both of the teams, and thank you for casting with me. It's been fun. Don't
Ooh,
normally get to see bangers like this.
sheesh, getting me smiley out here, Fisher. But no, it was
Let's go.
definitely a great one. Just waiting on one last thing before we head out. But again, thanks everybody for hanging out tonight. Lots of amateur Smite action happening across the Twitch universe there. So check them all out as well. Um, we will be heading out here just 2 seconds, and there we go. We're raiding out here. We're gonna raid F dot, so make sure to go give the goat some love, everybody. See you next time on OSL, and hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful night.
Caution, carbon's hot. Caution, carbon's hot. Caution, carbon's hot. Caution.